I love you guys. Dance off, bro. I have the high ground.
Expecto Patronum!
39 days, 20 people, 1 survivor.
Tribe of Nerds.
Hey everyone, really excited for this one. We're here on the Tribe of Nerds, finally for our Deadpool and Wolverine spoiler review. And of course, with us, we have a big group for this, much like the movie. So of course, we have Kevin, Sarah, Cam, Will, and Josh. Everybody is here to talk about how crazy this movie is and everything that goes in it. Sarah, do you have something to show the audience as well?
Not the cat, not the cat, not the cat.
Give me like 10, 15 seconds. I have to go. I have a meeting real quick. Hold on.
All right. Well, the pirate just left.
That meeting is with Satan, so everyone knows.
Yeah.
The podcast just got so much better.
No more random clip of Sarah anywhere but a room.
Oh my God, the married couple is in person.
Yes.
You're so much
X23 looks so different.
Oh my God, he finally let her in the house.
I know. I need to. I'm so sorry.
Kevin let Sarah out of the closet. It's fine.
So this is why they got to the end of Heroes versus Villains. They've been living together this whole time.
Yeah.
You think the Queen of Darkness over here has been living with this green wall the whole time?
No,
I don't think so.
No, it would be. It'd be like half the house is this, and then if you turn the camera, it would just be black and blood.
I would believe that in a heartbeat.
All right. Well, so let's get into Deadpool and Wolverine, something that we've been waiting to talk about for a week. To break down the Rotten Tomatoes scores and the box office. The box office is currently about 800 million. I just saw on Twitter it's about to cross 800 million.
Damn.
And so it's probably gonna hit 1 billion by the end of the week, next week. And then the critics score. The critics were lower than I expected. They're at 78% right now, which all right then. And the audience is at 96% because most people enjoyed this movie.
Yes.
Fuck the critics. I'm going back to my being a fan of DC roots now. I'm always having to say fuck the critics.
All right, well, let's get into everybody's opinions. We're going to do a spoiler-free impression right now from everyone on what they liked about this movie and, yeah, everything that goes with it. So let's start with Kevin and Sarah.
Don't fucking do that. We are still two separate people. Don't.
All I have to say is, let's fucking go.
Does that make me the dog?
Yeah, you're dog.
It makes you Deadpool because I keep stabbing you and you don't die.
Perfect. All right.
Yeah, I as we've talked about, I'm a huge X-Men fan. I obviously loved it. I thought it was great.
Yeah.
I won't go into spoilers because some of the spoilers are why I loved it. But I will say too, I was a little worried this is just going to be a string of cameos with no plot, and that was not the case, and I appreciated that.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I hate when we have to agree in person. Disgusting.
It feels dirty. It feels wrong.
Yuck. No, I do. I agree with no spoilers besides the dog dies. I thought it was a good movie. Like Kevin said, yeah, having such a star-studded cast like that, it can very easily be like the directors depend on that cast to make their money back. And again, yeah, there's no storyline, but you were able to bring in so many people, bring in so many universes to, you know, satisfy so many fans. Like I think it worked out well. And with the money that they're making, I don't see how they don't get greenlit for another one. It's just, let's see where they take it from here now.
Right.
Because I feel like now we've got so much, we've got some power. Now we just have to make sure it doesn't go downhill, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, It's solidifying that these characters are definitely going to be back coming up in the MCU. Like, there's no way they're not.
Oh, for sure.
All right. Cam, pre-merge Cam impression.
Am I ever gonna escape? Like, what do I gotta do
Never.
to move on beyond?
You could win a game with just the 6 of us, and we would still call you pre-merge camp.
100%.
Just to be clear.
Yes.
It just feels unfair. I feel like
I understand that you feel that, but
I mean, someone's got to do it. And
the
Cam
rest of
is
us,
you.
the rest of us do not feel that.
Yeah,
there's
the winner
definitely people in the
are
art
cool.
community who had worse runs than me. I don't think mine was as iconic as it's being led on to be. And it
I'm
hurts
just
my
saying,
feelings.
but voting you out
Anyways.
twice it was pretty.
Deadpool and Wolverine. I went like I shouldn't have read any reviews before I went into it, but I kept my expectations tempered. You know, like some people thought you were going to go in and it was going to restart the MCU and fix all the problems, and I'm like, this is a Deadpool movie. They're going to say fuck a shit ton of times.
118 apparently, to be exact.
Record amount.
Those are
And-
rookie numbers.
Yeah, you got to get those numbers up.
It absolutely blew my expectations away with the product that was in the theaters. I was standing up. I'm glad I sat at the back of the theater because I was standing up and cheering for like half of it.
It's because you were doing drive-bys, wasn't it?
No, that's just up and down the aisles all the way. When I say excuse me, it's not like excuse me, I'm going by. It's excuse me, I just farted right now. Anyways, super great movie. I thought like there would be a gratuitous amount of cameos, and there wasn't. Like it was a handful of cameos that were handled well. They all left at the right amount of time, you know, and they all brought something to the overall plot of the film, which I thought was going to get lost throughout all the nonsense that happens in the Deadpool movie. But there was a coherent story straight through from start to finish, while making you laugh and cry throughout the entire thing, while still having emotion and raw energy between the chemistry of Deadpool and Wolverine.
Absolutely. Yep. Totally agree. Josh, your spoiler-free thoughts.
So Brookie, let me start with a massive spoiler. No, but I thoroughly enjoyed the movie. I also thoroughly enjoyed my popcorn bucket that I got from the movie. I did not get the Wolverine fleshlight bucket, but I did end up getting a Deadpool sitting on a taxi where the front and back license plates say Deadpool, and then he is sitting on top of it giving an okay. It has the logo on the side. It's all fun. So I love the popcorn bucket. The movie, I 100% agree with everyone else talking, where I definitely was walking in like, there might be a little bit more cameos than I want to see in this. And Berkey and I kind of touched on this before everyone else hopped on too, because everyone else was very late. But we were doing great, and we were talking about how all the characters that were in there that we'll talk about later, wink, were used very well to be able to continue the story and actually like further the plot. And it was nice that there was a plot because it was like, it's as Nicole Kidman says, we come to the movies to have fun, but we also come to the movies to watch movies. So it was a very good film, and I would pay the exact same price I paid for the ticket just to see Hugh Jackman's abs again. So we'll see how that goes.
Him too.
I could literally hear Kevin's like groin moving through the camera.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
I heard
You're
like
telling-
From your lips to God's ears. Yes. Yes.
Like a prayer.
That was out there?
But yeah, that's what I got. Everything else, so once we hit the spoilers, you'll hear me talk a lot more.
Absolutely. Will, your spoiler-free thoughts?
It was a good time. I enjoyed it. I went with my girlfriend, and she rewatched the Deadpool movies beforehand. I kind of convinced her to go with me. It was more of a, babe, we're going to see this movie.
You forced her to go. Yeah.
She was all for it. It was a good time. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, we'll see the scary fuck guy. Yeah, sure.
But it was a great time. I enjoyed it. Cameos were perfect. Honestly, I didn't even care too much about the plot, to be honest with you guys. I was just enjoying the buddy cop feel that the two were going on. I could care less what they were doing, just having them on the screen interacting the way they were.
Yeah.
I was fine with. Like, I could care less what the journey was. Because, like, I seen what a lot of reviewers complain about the plot, like how it was too simple or messy. I was like, I don't care. I'm enjoying this. Like, it's a Deadpool movie. The plot's meant to be messy. Like, there is no like straightforward path. Like,
Right.
It was a great time. I enjoyed it, and we'll talk more with spoilers, of course.
Yeah. So I went by myself on Friday morning, and then the beginning of this past week I went again with my dad, who hadn't seen it, and my dad came out of it two things. One thing, I expected him to say it had cheesy humor. He said that. Second thing was that he said the plot was simple and easy to follow for him, which my dad sometimes doesn't say. So I was really happy to hear that. If my father can say that he understood the plot, then I think that's a win. So I think that I think it really worked out. As we said, like the supporting roles and the cameos, like they left at the appropriate time. They were there when they needed to be, and like they fit they serviced the characters of Deadpool and Wolverine more than anything, which is important, and it focused on the relationship between the two of them more than anything. So that's what is important going into this. I don't agree with some of the people that are complaining about this movie, but of course you're always going to get people that hate something. So
I don't believe that you only went and saw it twice. I feel like that $1 billion capita there, like quite a bit of a percentage of that is probably you, Jake.
I wish I'd seen it. I've seen it. I would have seen it more so far, but I definitely will probably go to the theater at least once more.
Yeah, for sure. And then we can all watch it together in December.
Oh, I'd love to do that. All right, well, let's get into the spoilers. So I think that this movie starts off with one of the best openings ever for a Marvel movie. You get to have Wade digging up Logan's corpse from Logan, and you get the adamantium covered skeleton. It was just so funny, and just from the moment like Wade starts like singing with like the Marvel Studios logo and just being like, oh god, it gets you pumped up every single time.
And like this movie in particular, like it did two things simultaneously a couple times. So like on the one hand, it did respect that like the character of Logan from that movie did in fact die. Like that emotional journey was not undone. However, they also used his skeleton to kill a bunch of TVA agents. So they also made a joke out. Like they managed to do both things at the same time. They also did
that to Bye 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 by NSYNC.
Yeah, to Bye 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 by NSYNC. Oh my god, it's so good. They did the same thing with Gambit. Like they made Gambit seem like cheesy and stupid with his costume, but they also gave him like a cool fight. Like they managed to do both. So like these people who are complaining about this movie, I'm like, were you even paying attention? Were you paying attention to the same movie that I was watching?
Going in anyway if they are complaining. So
yeah, and you can have critiques and stuff like that, but I mean, you're still a fan. You can just dislike certain choices. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I just really enjoyed.
Really got Amber. Like, damn it, boy bands.
I just enjoyed as soon as like you hear the music start for Bye Bye Bye, and then he's like, there's 206 bones in the human body, 207 if I'm watching Gossip Girl, which is a reference to Blake Lively's wife. So
mood. So good. The deep cuts too. Oh.
Yeah. And the action is so good.
I just like how it started, and you kind of he's gonna go there to Logan and probably try and get him, but then he immediately says, I'm not gonna disrespect him. I'm not gonna like dishonor his corpse or anything in the memory of him.
Yeah.
Followed by immediately doing that exact same thing in a horrendous way that I couldn't even imagine him doing with it. I was like, what's he gonna do with it?
Seriously, I was just sitting there watching this, and as it was happening, I was like, okay, so it's only gonna get worse from here. Okay.
Yes.
And it's like he's sitting next to it having a conversation with him, and I thought that's already more than you said you were going to do with this corpse. You already dug him up, sat him next to you. I didn't even think we were going to see the body, you know? And then, it's just his choreography with the entire skeleton is just hands down some of the best fighting I've ever seen. Like sacking somebody with the bone as his hand rubs down it and spells out like a name for the credits. Pitching that in the room to like, this is what we're gonna do for the open. Oh my goodness.
It was so good.
And he's not gonna disrespect Logan, but then he uses the claws and he accidentally stabs somebody in the ass and stabs somebody else in the dick, and then the claws are stuck. Yeah. And they're both like, please let go. He's like, I can't. Like,
you sick fuck.
Keep my country's name out of your mouth.
Yeah.
Just Will Smith deep cut there too.
Oh my, that was a Will Smith reference. For sure.
Oh, I was just so excited about, like, I looked at my friends who I went to see it with and I went, this is already better than the last ones. Yeah. I can already tell.
Well, and the fact that the dance choreography is from NSYNC themselves. Like it's literally
the NSYNC. It is the Bye 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 choreography.
Yeah. So the dancer who did this choreography like released a video of him doing it as well, like behind the scenes, and then he also choreography he did himself like out of costume. So it was pretty cool. But yeah, any other thoughts on this amazing opening?
It felt like a comic book page turner, did it not? Yes. Like it kind of felt like you just opened a Deadpool comic book and you're like they're telling him to come out and he's behind the rocks like, oh, like just go away. Like I don't want to deal with you. You know? He's just so relatable in like the funniest way.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a callback to the first Deadpool when he's hiding behind the car in the opening of that. So
give you my weapons. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's so good. And even just like before he does the thing with the claws, like when he takes them out and does the pose in front of like the title card, it's just so good.
I also swear, like when the first Deadpool movie came out, I watched some fan video on YouTube of Deadpool going to visit Wolverine like that. And he like throws the thing away. So when it started, I was like, are they going with that idea? But it's interesting how Deadpool always starts his movie with like, this is where we're at, does a flashback to how you got there, and then starts the movie again. He's done that in all three movies, which I didn't think was going to happen in this one.
Yeah, it's so good, level of consistency for the character and like the trilogy. So,
and a title card.
Yeah, it's so good. Will, Josh, any thoughts on the opening?
Bye 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 is forever changed now. I also love how after the movie came out, NSYNC changed the music video, and even on my Apple Music, if I go listen to the song, it says Bye Bye Bye, and then it has the parenthesis from Deadpool and Wolverine, and so like they've changed it everywhere to say from Deadpool and Wolverine now because it was so big. And thank you to Nick Pauley for being the dancer in the movie. I follow him on TikTok. He's a phenomenal dancer, and he's also been in a bunch of music videos for a lot of singers. So as soon as I saw it was him, I was like, yes. But yeah, it's probably the best opening of like any movie, honestly. Like it was so good. It captivated me immediately. And just like what you said, where he started like the and he was like singing along with the Marvel like Michael Giacchino theme.
Yes.
It was so good. And every part of it, even when it's like you reference the guy who makes fun of Canada, and then he just like bounces his sword and it like stabs him right in the like mouth, and then he just falls down and dies. Was so funny. It was so good. And like the whole opening was honestly, the movie is great. That's like my third favorite scene in the movie. And there's a lot to love in this movie, but just because of how unique and how awesome it was, it's very close to the top of the list for like one of my favorite parts of the movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
They utilize their weapons really well, you know?
Mm-hmm. Utilize Wolverine's weapons really well.
Yeah.
I think my favorite part, I loved it all. Like everyone was just saying, I loved the song too, and it was just like I think what did you say his name was? Like Nick Pauley, right?
Nick Pauley,
Yep.
Yeah, I think what was great about it, even with his dance moves, he's like brought Deadpool's personality into it, which was really cool.
And
but
he's
like
got
one
a
of my
fat ass, so it was good.
damn, that boy be thick. Anywho,
It was thickums. I was like, oh my God. I literally leaned over to my buddy Kelton, who I was seeing it with, and I was like, you see all that cake in them pants? Like, I know that ain't Ryan in there because I see the cake leaving the bakery right now.
I'm sure Ryan did
probably
like
one
a
of the
couple
best
of
parts
those
about, like, the
scenes of
opening.
dancing, but probably not all. Like obviously not all of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But one of my favorite things though about the opening, it's always nice seeing and a reminder of no matter how goofy he is, Deadpool is just an extremely good fighter and very efficient. And I just love seeing it demonstrated in the opening scene. Like it's just like that was one of my favorite things about the first movie too. Is everyone like underestimates him because he's just cracking so many jokes, and he is in a way really bad at avoiding damage because like when you heal, like you don't need to, and it's actually like comic accurate, like Deadpool fighting strat of he don't dodge because he don't need to.
Right.
But like in that scene, you see him just absolutely just getting rid of these goons like it's nothing, and it was just fantastic to see. I love seeing good fight choreography, and it gets better later on. Like it does.
Yeah, we'll get to the even better fight choreography later, but all right. Well, so this leads into where we get to see Deadpool travel to 616 when he's doing the whole time travel thing, and we get to see him talk with Jon Favreau as Happy Hogan, which I was not expecting Happy to show up, but it's so good that like we bring it back to the person who helped start the MCU with Iron Man, with Kevin Feige and Jon Favreau, just like seeing him like basically turn Deadpool down because Deadpool's doing this for the wrong reasons. It's so good. Any
What
thoughts
better
on...
person to introduce Deadpool to the MCU, like as you said, than the guy who started it? Like that way, it was such a full circle moment because it's also like it's like 34 films around there. Like we're over
films, yes.
Yeah, we have 34 films in this franchise. That man was the one who did the number one. He did the first, and he came back to like, hey, welcome. And it's like talking to him, and it was so funny. Also, one more reminder that Sony sucks because they couldn't use the full picture with Tom Holland as Spider-Man.
They blocked it
because Sony is stupid, so they suck, and I hate them. Other than the animated Spider-Verse stuff, that's awesome.
Yes,
but reminder that Sony sucks. But it was
Sony
really
doesn't
like
play
cool.
well with others ever.
Correct. It was really cool to see. Like Venom is going to be as good as Deadpool. But like off in the corner, it was nice to see the like OG Iron Man helmet, and it was nice to see like the Captain America shield before it was finished again. And it was nice to get some of those Easter eggs. Like this is where we are now. We're in this universe. This is our regular MCU, and it was the references in there. That's also where we got the reference to Hulk smashing. Smash-turbating, I believe they called it, with the Hulk hands, which was horrifying to hear about in the theater. Horrifying to hear about. I was sitting in the theater, like I felt bad for everyone in the theater because I always expect people to be in like the end game mood again. Because every time I go to see a movie, if I see something awesome, I'm like, oh, and I'm like excited and I'm happy. But like everyone else in the theater, like some cool shit happens in the movie and you'll hear, woo.
And that's why I go on Thursday nights, because you hear all the people lose their shit. It's amazing.
I went on a Thursday night
and
I
was
met
my
with
theater lost their shit. It was great.
mediocrity. I was so sad. I was in the back and like I'm clapping and I'm like cheering and I'm like, let's go. And I swear I was the only person. I felt so judged, but also I didn't care because it's Wolverine. But yeah, it's so good seeing our universe and finally seeing Deadpool in it, even if it was just for a second. Was so amazing, and it just felt right. The jokes in that scene landed, especially like chauffeur.
What's your superpower? Parallel parking.
Yeah, and it was like And he's just like, I moved my way up the ranks. He's like, but you were a chauffeur. And he just like, it was so good. And like Happy Hogan, Jon Favreau as Happy Hogan, always a hit.
Mhm.
And it tied it together really nicely because it just felt right to see him in the universe. And then it was immediately ruined again. But it was just nice to see him in what we know as like our universe for the MCU.
Mhm.
It was nice.
Yep, for sure. And any other thoughts on this moment? All right. Let's head to, so now Wade's back in his own universe 6 years later, has a midlife crisis, is working in a sales job, which isn't right for him. I love how, like, even when he's like in the car, selling the car to the family that shows up later on in the film, and like the fact that he's like saying all this vulgar humor with kids in the car, and then the family's like, can you say something without ever swearing? And it's like, it's just so good. But so has a midlife crisis, and then Peter takes him home, and they have the birthday celebration, and this is where the TVA.
That's such a sad Deadpool.
Yeah.
With the wig stapled to his head.
Yep, that everyone knows about.
Nobody knows.
Of course they fucking know.
Yeah,
I mean,
but you get Peter saying how he has the nipple thing connected to, and then throwing it off. I'm just like, what?
Jake laughing through saying nipple might be one of my favorite moments of my history of friendship with Jake.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, he talks about how his friend did it, and then he cuts to him with lifting his shirt up. Oh, don't pull it. That's the fun part, you know?
Yeah. And then you get everybody that's there, including Shatterstar. Well, everybody except Weasel, because TJ Miller sucks. But
Domino or Cable weren't there.
Oh, Domino and Cable and Russell. Fire Fist wasn't there either, which is
I only needed Yukio.
Right. I was glad Yukio was there. It made sense because there was some like backlash to them after that second movie, but whatever.
Backlash against Yukio?
No, against like
Negasonic.
Domino and Cable and that, like, but like I thought the Domino was cool.
Yeah, I liked Domino. Cable would have been cool to see again. I get why they didn't bring Josh Brolin back. Because of Thanos and everything, but like
they should have. There's a missed opportunity.
Yeah. Now we have Doctor Doom, which is Iron Man. Yeah, so that doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah, it doesn't matter
anymore.
Nothing
matters anymore.
Well, we'll get to the other big actor that shows up that defeats that as well in this movie, but no, I mean it would have been really cool to see those characters again. Cam, you were gonna say something?
I'm just saying, like, the multiverse kind of helps get away with that stuff. Like, it can be annoying at the same time, but it also can be a little better than just like recasting characters with no explanation. Like they should have done with Kang, is just cast another character, even made it just a different variant of him.
Yeah.
But I think the whole what's happening with Doctor Doom is its own thing. Yeah. But like it feels like a comic universe now. That's kind of just what it feels like. This is how laws work in Marvel Comics. Why can't it work in the MCU, you know? It's supposed to be that broader universe with like the main continuity that you still follow with, you know. I think it's fine, but I'm also coping really hard.
Right. But yeah, so
you're coping as fuck.
We got the cocaine conversation from the trailers as well, of course, with Blind Al, which is so good. Feige says we can't talk about cocaine, and then it's so good. And then we get the TVA coming after Wade makes his wish. Oh, also, I did want to mention that Buck, the line of, oh, you're improvising now after he says menopause, and saying that he has no speaking lines in this movie either. Oh, it's so good. But yeah, so the TVA comes, and this is where we get the line of Disney doesn't know about pegging.
There's so many good jokes. Like, it's such a good reminder that Deadpool is a pansexual character, and like,
Yes.
it's so funny.
Cameron's going to teach Marvel about two things in this world. Cameron's going to teach Marvel about pegging and Swedish freezers.
I was going to say we have
He said, "Hey, Kevin Feige."
Exits.
He's going to give a presentation. He's like, "Here's how to lose Survivor on pre-merger," and then like, here's how Swedish freezer. Here's how pegging works, and here's how to get out of a pre-merger.
And an unrelated, it is related story, but when I was like meeting Victoria's family, we played Cards Against Humanity, and her mom had the card Panel and had no idea what it was, and nobody was answering her, so I just went, Panel is, and I explained it on like the second time I met.
Oh God.
So I'm no stranger to explaining the anal act.
You helped. I appreciate that, though. You helped her out rather than just let her sit there. And everyone's like, we're just going to let her go on without knowledge. Cam said, no.
She just kept saying it, like, what's anal? What is this? I'm just like, stop.
You're like, you asked. I'm going to give you an explanation.
You have a phone, Google it. Like, I don't know what to tell you. I'm not.
They had no service where they live. They like,
oops.
More power to you, Cam, because I was.
Did Sarah get lost in your little house?
Yeah,
No, she's making food for her children.
Sarah's bathing with the turtles right now.
Oh my gosh, she also said, "And you, sweetheart," and I want to vomit.
Ew.
Me.
If she doesn't call you sweetheart every podcast from now on.
Yeah, she's
sweetheart.
She's cooking food in the brig like pirates do.
Not Kevin with the claws in his mouth.
Kevin's like, I'm gonna fight you now. Oh, are you?
All right. So then, so the TVA takes him, and we get introduced to Matthew McFadden as Mr. Paradox, who is just this smarmy, kind of goofy British villain, and I thought he was a lot of fun, honestly, in this movie, for what he was. Not saying he's like at all one of the best MCU villains, but I enjoyed him, honestly. And so we got the explanation of anchor beans, which is once again another multiverse MCU explanation that we get with all the other stuff we've learned.
I feel like I need to bring up that. So I was watching one of the reviews, and like one thing that probably wasn't explained very well in the movie is just that like they just kind of threw in anchor beings, but like the idea being that like the Fox X-Men universe, once Logan happened and Wolverine died, like the X-Men movies were not good anymore. And so like without Logan, without Wolverine, like those movies are just going to die. And like, so like it's more of that than like actually like having this like new important thing that like, oh, now we got to keep track of an anchor being too. And like, what about all that? Like, it's just an excuse to talk about how like if we actually killed off Wolverine, like the X-Men movies don't happen.
That's true.
Also, with the timeline, I agree with you where it actually did make sense to me, because also they're like in the movie he says like once an anchor being dies, that universe starts the process, but he says it takes like thousands of years. So like Wolverine died in Logan, and then that universe would have went on for like thousands of more years.
Oh, it could have gone on. Think of how many more movies they could have made. Like
exactly. But and then they just said like, but Paradox, since it's in his region for the TVA, he said he likes to speed up the process and kill those universes sooner. Like it was said that, hey, it takes a really long time for the universe to like fall apart after that anchor being dies. So like one of the things that Marvel might even say is that Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man was 616 anchor being. So that universe could, I mean, the movie universe is falling apart, but that universe could be like starting the process of falling apart, but we just won't see it for like thousands of years. So I was like, I didn't know why people hated that so much, because they literally said it could take a really long time. But yeah, it made sense to me. Plus, it's like, listen, we grew up reading DC and like Marvel. how are you going to tell me that everything needs to make sense in a Marvel movie? Are we being for real? Like,
Right.
y'all
And, like-
really think that the science behind Ant-Man is real? Like, that
No.
doesn't make sense, but
No.
y'all agree with that and you let it go. Like, there's a certain level of, we are watching a man whose skeleton is covered with the strongest metal that isn't even real.
Right.
Get over yourself. Not everything has to make perfect sense, but also in this case, it made perfect sense to me. And I was like, oh, we literally generations down the line is when that universe would have ended, but Paradox just wanted to speed it up. So it drove me crazy, but this is a much larger rant that Borucki got to hear about for like an hour and a half from me before this started. But yeah, that's where I'll leave that.
Yeah, I get that. It's just funny because I kind of just like wish we might have gotten more of it coming before this movie. But I don't blame Deadpool and Wolverine. I blame the fact on like Quantumania and like Multiverse of Madness for doing a poor job of making sense of what they were setting up and changing it. And then, you know.
Oh, Ant-Man Quantumania.
Yeah.
But
R.I.P.
Yeah, that
even if they were
trash.
setting up what they wanted to set up, that movie sucked so bad. And for the first two Ant-Man movies to be so good, and then the bones of Quantumania to be good, you're going into the quantum realm with Kang as a villain, and you have the three ant people, and you messed it up. How did you do that?
Well, they didn't have Luis. That should have been our first clue.
And possibly using Bill Murray as like the worst character ever.
Yeah, the most forgettable.
Wasting Bill Murray. You wasted Peter Venkman on one of the worst characters. You're like, oh, we'll throw him away and kill him immediately. I'm like, are you serious? Like, bro, Harrison Ford's playing the president of the United States, and Bill Murray gets to play random Joe Schmo who's an asshole number 4. Are we being for real? Even the Holes guy got more lines than Bill Murray, and that was freaking Polka Dot Man.
Yeah, well, that was also one of Luis's ex-cons in the other 2 Ant-Man movies, and he just that character.
We're right back to Robert Downey Jr. as Doctor Doom. It all leads back now.
All right. Well, so then we get that explanation, and Wade suits up with the pervy Taylor, and and then you have the other TVA agent that is coming out of the closet,
calling his wife in HR.
Yeah,
I'm calling HR. Did your wife work in HR?
Yeah,
probably my favorite joke in the movie.
Yeah, that was good. And then him being really happy when Wade is about to land on his face ass first. Or when he thinks.
And then him also being happy at the end when he sees Wolverine's abs. Also hilarious.
Yep.
Relatable too.
Yes. All right. Well,
Kevin's like, let me back that guy up real quick. He's like, that guy made perfect sense to me.
So he breaks Paradox's nose, gets through, we get back through the opening, and this is where I can't wait to talk about we get all the Wolverine cameos that we could ever want. He goes trying to find the best Wolverine. We get Short King Wolverine.
Height, a comic accurate Wolverine.
Comic accurate height.
Which is even crazier.
Will was really
It's Will Derville. Yeah, Will Derville height Wolverine.
For real. Like, honest to God, I was like, yeah, that's pretty much it.
Will's now joining the representation matters movement in movies because he saw Short Wolverine. And he was like, you know what? It did make me feel seen. I did feel good.
You think it didn't? I was like, damn fucking straight. Because guess what? He was a Wolverine ready to kick Wade's ass, and he would have too. That man was ready
after
to
he
go.
crawled up to see him in the eyes. Yeah, then he would have beat him.
Yeah,
no, because he would have cut Wade down. He would have chopped the legs off and brought him down to him. He would have crawled up.
It would have been so funny if they hid throughout the promotional material that that's the Wolverine who would be starring next to him the whole movie.
That'd be freaking funny.
And like just the frame cuts off like here, so you just see like the top of his head in most of the shots with Deadpool.
Oh.
Would have
That would've
been,
been
but what they
great.
did was so much better because
Seeing Hugh Jackman's face like put on that short of a body, I was like, this just feels like legally and ethically wrong. Like it defied all laws. I was like, this is a war crime, truly.
Yeah. Yep. Then we get Patch. We also get Age of Apocalypse Wolverine with his hand cut off.
Yes.
And with the giant mane of hair. You get the Uncanny X-Men where he's on like the cross.
With all the skulls, yes.
Yeah.
Oh
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
That one was great.
And of course you get the brown suited Wolverine with the Hulk cameo, which is really, really cool to see a tease of Hulk versus Wolverine.
Oh my God, that was my nerd moment right there.
And reportedly, that's becoming a movie. There's a heavy rumor right now that they're going to make that Wolverine
I
versus
won't
Hulk
buy
movie.
into it until I see a fucking tease trailer or a legit trailer. Because you know how many goddamn projects are rumored to happen right now?
Yeah.
Marvel's just doing it just to keep you kind of fucking interested at this point. Nah, fuck that. I won't believe it until I fucking see it. But it did make me fucking happy to get a glimpse of Savage Hulk again and Brown Suit Wolverine. Just it made me feel very happy inside that they even just acknowledged that Wolverine fought Hulk. That's all it did. It was great. And then it was also funny. Deadpool trying to give a Loki-ish line to Hulk.
The Loki callback.
I am Deadpool, you don't creature.
I'm Marvel Jesus.
Because for real, in that moment, when Hulk and Wolverine were like teased on the screen together, I didn't give a shit about Deadpool. So when Hulk smacked him away, I was like, good, don't care. Give me I forgot it was a Deadpool movie for a minute because I was so just in touch with Wolverine and Hulk. I was like, yeah, get Deadpool out of here. We'll worry about him in his movie. And then I was like, wait, hold on, cameo. Shit.
And in my not so humble opinion, I truly believe with all my heart that yellow and brown suit was the best Wolverine suit in the movie. And I wish we would have gotten that as the main suit. But I also understand why they went with what they did. But that suit was beautiful. That was
the lack of
the
handles on
best
that
looking
one.
suit.
It was they did that suit justice for sure. It was a really good. I think overall they did a lot of his costumes justice. I think Patch, like that white suit was so fucking clean. I know it's not like a
perfect
superhero costume.
The
but that shit
old
was
man Logan with the
Old Man Logan.
shotgun.
We got Old Man Logan as well.
Bro,
that was so good. No one in the theater understood why I was excited for that. And I was like, you idiots. You idiots. And it was like, I was freaking out in the back of the theater.
I loved it. That was like actual like old man Logan, and I loved it.
He was wearing the hat, and he had that long trench coat, and I was like, "This is the one. This is the one that fights Incest Hulk. This is the one who travels with Blind Hawkeye, fights Red Skull. Like, oh yeah."
Does not use his claws anymore. He's just like, "Fuck it, I'm done with the claws."
They really took comic accuracy and said, "This is how you do it." By the way. And all these cameo scenes lasted like he's in that one with the brown suit and Hulk for 5 seconds.
Yeah.
But it felt so much longer because they filled those 5 seconds with gold.
Yeah.
It was like a 60-second compilation of different Wolverines. And you got Hugh Jackman to play this character in ways he has never played it before.
Yeah.
With completely new mindsets. Like the Four Horsemen version of him with like the hand cut off that got regrown by Apocalypse so he could be one of the horsemen. It's such a deep cut. Like I watched it with Victoria and after the movie she's like, this movie was definitely for people who know these characters because I was confused, but you're freaking out throughout the whole thing. Like it was so enjoyable for her, but for us, like that scene means so much more.
So with that point, so normally sometimes when we start movies, I get where the frustration is when movies gatekeep fandoms like that because it is hard for like to get a bigger audience. But at the same time, as somebody who is a fan, I do enjoy when a movie just double downs and goes, if you know, you know. And I appreciate that because it's like Deadpool by far became more mainstream because of his movies. Deadpool was not nearly as big before these movies. There was a reason why it took forever to get the first movie. For as much as people talked about how they wanted the Deadpool movie. It was just the fandom talking, but the mainstream didn't know Deadpool. Now Deadpool is fucking mainstream as hell, and that's why also you get these wacky ass critics who are like, "Oh, this is so offensive," when they were talking about like he's Marvel Jesus, and you got people like, "Oh, that's making a joke." No, literally, that is Deadpool. You literally don't know who fucking Deadpool actually is, because if you're offended with the shit he says in his movies, you should just see some of the storylines and the dumb shit people do as fans, what they fan write him to do. It is so crazy what the Deadpool character has gone through. And even at the same time, if you really think about it, this is my rant. Sorry, Josh. If you really think about it, Deadpool is probably one of the most progressive characters out there because he just doesn't give a fuck about a lot of things, and he's for anything, really. As long as you don't get in his fucking way, he's all for it. He'll put it in any hole that fits. He'll take it in any hole that fits.
Yeah.
He don't care.
Yeah.
And Rand.
I like how Will said, "Sorry, Josh," and I'm like, I'm on board with you, I guess.
Yeah.
I love how immediately he blew out the candles at his birthday, went outside thinking that these 5 guys were here to all like have sex with him. He's like, we can go down the hall and lay down like a tarp, but like was just in the room with all the people who are so important to him, literally just blew the candle out. Walks out, is like, all right, we can do this, puts a mint in his mouth, is like just
and he thought it was like a gift from them. He's like, okay.
Points out the fact that like
they
the one guy you
me.
can't see his face, you know, is like, I can't see your eyes, so we're getting it.
Yeah.
But Savage Hulk was back on a little bit on topic. Oh God. Seeing a glimpse of Savage Hulk again, man, it brought a tear to my eyes. A Hulk fan, I was so happy.
I thought,
and then finally, I know, the Cavalrine.
The Cavalrine, seeing Henry Cavill, and then just like him being like, "We'll treat you better than those shit fucks down at the other place," and then you get Henry Cavill's like signature fist bump, like as he gets the claws out, because he does that. For,
and
like,
his voice, he literally just went, "It's time for you to," and he's like, "I think you're just leaving," and I was like, "Oh my gosh!"
You've seen him do Geralt. You know he can do like a gritty voice, so you know the man's gonna knock it out of the park. And this is my headcanon. I don't know if it's true or not, but because knowing what we know about Henry, the man is a dedicated nerd. You know, even for that like few seconds of filming, that man, he's like, "Let me just do a quick run through of Wolverine. Let's see if I can nail this guy's personality."
Yeah.
And he fucking just did it.
He was so good in that like 5 seconds. It was insane.
It was life-changing.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts on the Wolverine cameos? Or are we ready to get to like the rest of
Oh, we're ready.
You mean my favorite version of Wolverine that we've ever gotten?
Yeah, let's get to it. All right, so then we get to this version of Wolverine and the one who's at a low point in his life. And this is absolutely just wonderful to see Hugh Jackman play this character differently than we've seen him before, and just feel so fresh and feel so much like the character still. And so this was a great scene of him trying to get this Wolverine involved, and like the fact that he's so low in his life that he's just gonna drink himself so that like he can't even get his claws out. Like it's so it's a good introduction to this version. Any thoughts to this scene in the bar?
It took a little bit for it to like when we finally settled down. I guess as much as I love like the montage of the Wolverine cameos, like when it got to that, and like it didn't click in my head that this was the Wolverine we were getting for a little at first, because I'm like, is this just a long punchline waiting to build up? But then it was like, oh, okay, this is our Wolverine we're gonna get. And honestly, I will say this is like I don't want to say a gripe, but it is like something that I always have to get adjusted to. With him experimenting now, with him in an R rating setting, it always takes a little bit to hear Wolverine just casually like. I like him dropping the F-bomb a lot, but it also seems a little weird that Wolverine is talking back so much, because it almost seems like what makes Deadpool and Wolverine like the good combo is Wolverine's just the grumpy silent one, and then you have Deadpool who just constantly runs his mouth. Now they eventually like got to that point, but like at first it was just like, man, Wolverine's just saying so much. It's like he's arguing a lot for no reason. But hey, it was still a good time, and it was great seeing Hugh again, like in his role now.
Yeah,
I feel like this Wolverine doesn't really deal with shit. Like he came back to like spoiler, obviously, that like all of his X-Men got killed, and then he just went on an absolute murder rampage, killing a bunch of humans, innocent ones, and everyone. So he's just not dealing with anybody's shit. Then this bumbling buffoon comes out of nowhere and just talks. Like he does not shut up until Wolverine like yells at him in the Honda Odyssey.
Yeah.
But like he's loving that back and forth. He's loving that Wolverine is like tearing him to shreds verbally until that point.
Yeah.
But like this Wolverine's like, people just want me to leave. Like probably nobody talks to him in his world anymore. He gets a drink and then he gets thrown out, right? And he's not going to fight back because he's done all this terrible stuff. So now kind of getting back into even socializing with somebody as annoying as him could just be a lot for like even Hugh Jackman was probably some of that was real, you know, talking to him.
No, I get what you mean. Yeah, 100%.
Yep.
I was surprised to see like how I was. So I won't like talk about what happened yet, but like when he first started mentioning I did something bad, I thought that they were gonna take going back to Old Man Logan again. It's my favorite Wolverine comic series. Go read it if you haven't. And in Old Man Logan, all of the villains, all of the Marvel villains pretty much team up and attack all of the superheroes at the same time because they realize there are more villains than heroes, so we can defeat them. And Mysterio tricks Wolverine into killing all of the X-Men by making them look like other villains. And Wolverine slaughters his entire family without even knowing it's them. So like Jubilee, Cyclops, Jean murders all of them. Like in Xavier's mansion. And that's why he started this slow journey, and that's why he stopped fighting. He gave up on life. He did all of this. So when I first heard, like, he's like, I did something bad and everyone hates me, and I thought it was going to be that, and I was pleasantly surprised. But when we were meeting him, I'm glad that they took a beat from the Old Man Logan and kind of mixed it in with this one, because it really helps. Of like, Wolverine is usually in almost every single iteration he's in is a guy who just suffers so much, and they just beat him down worse than like Joker beat Robin. Like they literally in the cameo crucify this man, and they like just wreck his life. So having some of that transfer over and seeing how depressed Wolverine was and how he's truly just like, I'm not him anymore. Like I was Wolverine. Now I'm just Logan. I'm just a guy. I'm not a hero. I'm not saving anybody. I'm not good. You wouldn't like me if you knew what I'd done. You wouldn't understand. And it was like pushing everyone away. And it was super nice. And because it's, that's what Logan is a lot of the time. And he suffers a lot, and then he has to deal with it. And how he usually deals with it is running away from his feelings. So when he's doing that in this movie, I think for all of us who like love the Wolverine, it fit like a glove, because that's exactly what he usually does. It's, he stays and fights a lot of the time, but after a while, like he says in the movie, he's been alive for 200 years. Like he's seen some crap. Like he lived through all of the world wars, and like he's seen horrible things, and he would be beat down. And after a while, you're just like, what's the point of all this? And like, especially after his ex-family dies, of course you're going to be depressed. So like all of this, and I thought they did a brilliant job with it. So I love how they called him the worst Wolverine, and then yet like he becomes almost the best one. Like he kind of reworks it, and I love it.
Yeah, I really like the like looking at it in terms of like studying depression, of like how this person is acting, and like how he's like totally beat down. He's an alcoholic. When Deadpool says he's going to shoot him in the head, he leans into it, right? Like, and like even like, but like actually he's wearing the Wolverine costume underneath because
20 fucking years,
right? Because he feels bad.
Yeah,
that it's his fault that they die. Like showing all sides of that, and then like processing that, and like he becomes the hero again. Like I liked that as like a like examination of depression.
Yeah.
To me, yeah, like I think like because this is like, and I'm not even kidding, even like that little weird minor gripe I brought up, or like what was a weird adjustment. This is my favorite version of Wolverine we've seen, like on the screen. Like this iteration is my favorite, and I love Logan Wolverine. Like I loved him and Logan, but I love this one more. And seeing how they handled this depression, like how like he was grieving with this, it also in some way in the back of my mind, I couldn't help it. It made me think this is how they should have done Thor's, because both of them are like cut from the same cloth in the sense of they lived a long time. They're both veterans of like many battles, and they've seen probably many people die. And they handled this one, even in a movie where overall it is a joke. They took that was real grief, and not once did they turn him into a real joke. Like they made jokes around him, but him being depressed was not the joke. Like how they did with Thor, they made his depression a joke.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the difference in how they handled it is night and day. And like, this is how they should have handled Thor's fucking depression from the beginning with. If you want to make a joke or two, like with them downing liquor, okay, that's good in small doses. And they did that. Like hell, when he was looking for fucking alcohol and he just started downing like the hand sanitizer or the rubbing alcohol, I thought that was a little giggle, but at the same time, you kind of then start thinking, you're like, oh shit, this guy is like, oh yeah, he's really hurting. He's trying to kill something on the inside. And this is like the best, like, I think this is Hugh's best work as a Wolverine by far.
I agree.
Like, and I say by far because this is what I've been wanting. Like, I've wanted a prime Wolverine to see, like, as much as I love Logan for the storytelling, and I did love seeing old man Logan and how in that Logan movie, seeing a young Wolverine in his prime going through it and being aggressive, being a grump, but being very hurt at the same time, it just was marvelous acting by Hugh Jackman.
Yeah,
like the man knocked it out of the park.
Absolutely. So yeah, then he carries Wolverine back to the TVA and in the costume, and they both get sent to the Void. And we get the Wade and Logan fight, which was so good, like from Wolverine running on all fours to get to Deadpool, like just
like the best shot.
Yeah, so good.
150% agree.
Deadpool did not hype up the fight enough. He looks at the camera and is like, "This is going to be good." You did not hype it enough.
Sir, you fucking lied to me. That was fantastic.
Yeah. Like right when he took off on all fours, I sat back in my chair and just let it take me away.
Yeah.
You know?
And every time Deadpool uses that small, and he just goes, baby knife. It was funny every time. Like, it's just like, baby knife. And like when he pulls it out and when he puts it in, baby knife. And I'm like, say it again, please. Use the baby knife again, damn it. But yeah, that Wolverine on all fours. I was wearing, I won't lie, I mean, I have a washer and dryer, so don't worry. But I was wearing this shirt when I went and saw the movie. And let me tell you, I was literally once again, I was in the back of the theater and I went, oh, and it's like, and everyone's probably like turning around like, if you don't move, he can't see you. But I was literally, and it was just screaming. And it was just so good though. I couldn't help it.
Yeah. Well, and even from like when Deadpool gets his gun, like the new ammo, like he just picks the board and puts the ammo back in the guns. Like it's just so well shot and like it's so good.
It gave me the vibes of like something that the Deadpool would have done in like the Origins Wolverine movie, because he was like blocking all the bullets with the swords and doing all the cool stuff. And like that scene of him hitting the board and like flipping the guns around to catch the magazines.
Yeah.
I was like, I swear they set this up, and it just felt like it should have been from the X-Men Origins Wolverine version of the character. So I thought that was cool.
Yeah, but like they really thought out all this choreography of katanas fighting somebody with knives in their hands, you know? Like they get the katana stuck in the knife, so he pulls the claws back in, punches him in the face, then stabs him in the stomach with his other hand, you know? Like the choreography between these two fighting, because they fight a lot throughout the movie, stays fresh and entertaining, where it could just be like a slob. You know, like in the wrong hands, these fight scenes are not good, but they got so creative. Like Kevin, show us. Get with the claws.
I left him inside.
Oops.
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 Run around in your backyard.
Come on,
Dick of the
Kevin.
claws
You
right there.
have time. You have time. You have to do it. We already asked. Kevin's like, no, and we're just like, come on, Kevin.
But yeah, I mean, just like even when Deadpool shoots the bullets into Wolverine, and then he just stands up, and the bullets just fall out, and then he has like the one in between his teeth. He's like, it's so good. It's just so freaking good.
It's funny because right after that, like, Pyro shows up, and I thought it was funny because in that same movie where he got shot in the head and then the bullet fell out, he was standing on the porch with Pyro when that happened. And I was like, every time this guy gets shot, Pyro is around. So I want to bookmark that.
Yeah.
Just be like, if Pyro ever shows up again, I'm like, you watch that guy, because every time he's here, Logan gets shot. And
he's the worst one.
Bro, he's the worst Pyro. No,
yeah. Well, let's segue into that right before we get to our next big cameo. But I mean, technically,
this is where Cameo City starts, because now they're in the bullet.
This is where it starts. But we get Aaron Stanford returning as Pyro. One thing I like now from this Pyro in the comic accurate suit and like older is the fact that he's like the smoke stained teeth as well in this one. Like that was a cool, nice touch to have for Pyro. And then we get Tyler Mane as Sabretooth and returning from the first X-Men, and Toad from the first X-Men as well, which is supposed to be Ray Park, but it's not Ray Park in this movie. I don't think it's someone.
There was a few cameos that weren't their original act. Like,
yes,
Vinnie Jones was not the Juggernaut. That was not.
Yeah, not the Juggernaut, bitch.
Yeah, we'll get to the not Vinnie Jones Juggernaut, but
yeah.
But yeah, no, it was so cool to see them, even though like the Sabretooth fight, everybody's been waiting decades for this, and it's just Wolverine decapitating Sabretooth.
Yeah,
it was perfect.
Don't get me started on that one. I'm not gonna lie, I had to remind myself it was a Deadpool Wolverine movie, so they were gonna have to pull the rug on certain things, and they were gonna give the fans like a tee-hee middle finger kind of deal. It just sucks it was that. I don't know, because I really wanted to see Wolverine versus Sabretooth. I was one of those, so I'm not gonna lie, when it happened, I was a little bit salty that I took the bait, but it was like, okay, cool. They meant to do it, it felt like. So I was like, cool. All right, you got me. Move on. Next cameo, please.
Yeah, well, and like, I mean, they could have brought in Liev Schreiber as Sabretooth, but like, it makes more sense to do the Tyler Mane version.
If they did that with Liev, I would have been
right away.
Yeah.
If they would have done that with Liev, if they would have done it with Liev, I would have been pissed. Like, I actually genuinely would have been pissed. But like that version of Sabretooth, that was cool. I was fine with.
Yeah.
Oh, honey.
Ugh.
Oh, the pirate's back. Good.
Here, and I promise there's only a little bit of arsenic.
There's only a little poison.
A little. You guys too.
We're talking about Deadpool and Wolverine.
Is it going good? Look, it's only an hour, and I've already forced Kevin out of his house.
Good. All right. Well, yes. So we just got through the Sabretooth, Pyro, and Toad showing up. Let's get to our next big cameo, which was really exciting. So we see a hooded figure. Yeah. And I didn't recognize the voice at first, so it took me till he actually took off the hood. But seeing Chris Evans back,
not a fan.
They set it up as that it might be Captain America. Obviously, you had the TVA showing the Captain America scenes, but as soon as he took off the hood and it was Chris Evans, I'm like, it's Human Torch. It's Human Torch. And even the setup to be like, he's gonna say Avengers Assemble, but it's actually gonna be Flame On, and he did it, and I was just so excited.
I leaned over to my buddy Kelton because I heard him say his first words, and I went, "That's Chris Evans," and he went, "No, it's not." And I was like, "I'll literally bet you my paycheck that that's Chris Evans. I know his voice. Like, there's like, listen, I've seen that man in like 8 Avengers movies. I know that. I know who he is. And when I was a kid, I went and saw both of the Fantastic Four movies in theaters. That's Chris Evans." And he took off that hood, and I went, I told you! And I like got in his face, and he was just like, okay, bro, back off. But I was so hyped, because like I loved the Fantastic Four. Number one, love Doctor Doom, because he's badass. But if you love Doctor Doom, Fantastic Four, that's them. And I loved it. And we even got like, he mentions that at one point Reed Richards was also in the Void.
Yes,
and like they mentioned that he might have died. And I was like, sad. But it's like having him back is number one, just seeing Johnny Storm again. Like it got me even more hype for the upcoming Fantastic Four movie, because like that's Johnny Storm. Like he's part of Marvel's first family. We've not seen them since like before Iron Man came out.
So like it's 7.
Exactly. And it was like literally a year before the freaking MCU started is the last time we saw them. And it honestly, so much of this movie made me like sad, but like not in a bad way. It gave me like nostalgic tears almost, because it was just like, you know, when I was a kid, these were my heroes. So like it was almost like when you're in No Way Home and you see Tobey Maguire come back as Spider-Man, you're like, these were my heroes. So like now it's a clashing of the worlds where it's like my favorite Merc with a mouth from my past 10 years is now meeting my Johnny Storm from when I was 7 and last saw this guy. Like it was one of those moments where you're just like, man, we're really seeing this right now. And it definitely made me a little emotional, because I was like, fuck, I'm old. But it was really nice. Well, I'm not Kevin old, but it was just really nice to be able to like, oh, this is like my childhood hero meeting like one of my newer heroes. And it was fun.
No, for me, so before, like in the original scenes when they first get to the Void, there's very clearly an old version of the Captain America shield.
Yep.
And he's wearing red and blue.
Red, white, yep.
He's wearing red, white, blue. He's wearing red and blue with like white straps around his arms. So like,
yes.
I was not expecting Flame On, and when it happened, my theater cheered, and I was like, yes. So that was one of the moments where like I wasn't thinking about it, just watching it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. It's gonna be Captain America, because that's like, that was his shield over there a minute ago. This is like an old version of Captain America. And it was fun. It was just fun. It was like, like, yes. Surprise me again. Surprise me harder, Ryan Reynolds.
Yes. And they will.
And they do.
Yeah.
I think it was at this moment, because like I got excited with it, but like I started realizing, I'm like, oh, this movie isn't really, in a way it does save the MC universe, but the plot itself is not about saving the MC universe. It literally is just, at this point, it's taking you down and kind of giving closure to the Fox universe in a lot of ways. And like, I think that is absolutely huge. And like seeing like Chris Evans again in Johnny Storm's role, like a lot of fans were asking to see him again, even just for a brief moment or something, and we got it. And like it kind of felt like you kind of see it, like that's the one thing with movies is like you can see when actors are invested in what they're doing by like how they perform, even if it's just short little moments. And it really looks like Chris Evans was happy to be back as the Human Torch again, just for a moment. And like, because he's talked about in interviews how he's all set with Captain America, like he's done with it, like he's done his time with it, he's cool with it. But like, I think he was excited to be back as Human Torch just like one more time almost. And like, you see that with a lot of other roles, especially later on with some of the bigger cameos. Like, and like, so like, I think this movie was definitely a real good conclusion to the Fox universe. It almost was like a real big nod, because say what we want about them and how inconsistent some of the movies have been or the qualities, if you didn't have Fox Studios doing their superhero movies, we would not have the MC universe.
Right. For sure.
And like, I think at the end of the day, like it was this movie, and especially like the end credits too, where it really dawned on me, where I was like, in a weird way, it's their tribute to it. And I could see Ryan saying, like, hey, no, like, for as much as we joke about it, like, Deadpool wouldn't be a thing. X-Men wouldn't be a thing. You would, and if X-Men wasn't a thing, you're not getting any other superhero movie.
Right.
You're not even getting the Spider-Man movie.
Right.
I feel like they celebrate it as much as they make fun of it, you know?
Yes.
Like they really make fun of it, but in a way that's also celebrating the choices they made because it's funny.
It's almost like when you have that friendship, like your best friends, you will roast the fuck out of, but at the end of the day, you will like ride or die with them people.
Right. Well, it's very much like I said, like they're in on the joke, right? Like Deadpool is part of the X-Men universe, so like it's okay for him to make fun of it because he's one of them. You know, like
hell, they made the joke in the very beginning, like, "Oh, you thought you were the important one of this universe? Fuck no! It always will be Wolverine.
Yeah,
right. It always will be. Like he will always be like the anchor point of the universe, and it's like that is the reality. I don't care how trendy and cool Deadpool is now. At the end of the day, Fox is Wolverine's like home. Like without Wolverine and the X-Men, you don't get Deadpool.
Right. Yeah. So I mean it, and I loved how like again you get the clues that it's not Captain America, right, from the fact that he like starts being like acting like a douche bro like Johnny Storm would, and like he says, you know, eat a bag of dicks or whatever it is, or whatever the quote is, similar to that, and you're like, Cap would not say that, but Johnny Storm would. But yeah, so then they get locked up because Pyro sucks up the Human Torch, and they take them to Cassandra Nova's lair. You have Eliath from Loki season 1, episode 5.
I'm so sorry. That wording caught me off guard. He was like, "Yeah, Pyro sucks up the Human Torch," and I was like, "Hey, yo, he's a very different movie, Borucki."
The fire of the fire from the Human Torch, I should say.
Pyro gave Torch that hot boy.
This was also the moment when like I realized we weren't just going to be seeing a string of just random cameos, because like Chris Evans was in it for a minute, you know, like he was it wasn't like he just Human Torch says flame on and then Pyro sucks the fire off him and he dies. Like he got captured and he went with them, you know. So like, oh, this isn't just going to be cameos, the movie. It's actually going to have like a plot with consequences.
Yeah.
Cameos with plot.
Yeah.
Right.
Supporting roles. So yeah, Eliath gets
supporting plot at this point. It's cameos with the supporting plot.
Right. So we're gonna see Eliath from Loki season 1, episode 5 get mentioned, and Eliath's gonna pop up to get some food. So it's pretty cool there. And then they get to Cassandra's lair, which is the body of Ant-Man. Paul Rudd finally aged. And so we get to meet Cassandra Nova, who they at first think is Charles Xavier. Obviously she is his twin sister. So it was really cool there to even like have them reference that. Then like she gets out of the wheelchair and realize it's not Charles Xavier, and even like the ableism joke of like watch out because the woke mob's gonna cancel.
I do wish they didn't show Cassandra in the trailer just a little bit.
Yeah.
Because like everyone who's seen a trailer for the movie, you know that's not Professor Xavier.
Yeah.
But from the back, I was like, oh, it could be. And I would have thought that had you not shown it in the trailer. And not that trailers necessarily ruin it. Like I know Jake wasn't happy with seeing X-23 in the trailer.
Yeah.
But I was fine with, because I felt like there's going to be way more cameos in this movie that I'm going to care about. If they're showing X-23, what do they have behind the curtain kind of thing?
And we saw what they had behind the curtain. And
it's because she wanted to go to the premiere, which I can respect.
Yeah, I can respect it too.
They could
I also love the
she's a major character in a Wolverine movie. They could just send her to the premiere.
Yeah. I love that the whole thing where we later find out this was said, but the whole time where Deadpool is selling out Chris Evans, and he says, he said, "Oh, Cassandra, Human Torch told me that you're a megalomaniacal psychotic asshole, a figure-looking dead-inside pixie slab of third-rate dime store nut milk, and I'll tell you what she can do. She can lick my goddamn cinnamon ring clean and kick rocks all the way to bald hell. In fact, I don't give a shit if she removes all my skin and pops me like some nightmarish blood balloon. If the last thing I do in this godforsaken cum gutter existence is light that fuck fox on fire, I still won't die happy. That's right, Wade. I won't be happy until I've urinated on her freshly barbecued corpse and husk fucked the charred remains while gargling Juggernaut's Juggernuts, and you can quote me.
Thank you for that.
If I don't, if I don't get that, I don't want
it. Gargling Juggernauts.
From who?
I feel like the fact that we have done all these podcasts, like the X-Men to now, before I went and saw Deadpool and Wolverine, was so good too, because it put a lot of like respect on these characters coming back. I'm like, oh, Toad, like you know, I was hyped for the Sabretooth and Wolverine fight, and while it wasn't what I wanted it to be, I didn't need it to be that, you know, because it was still exciting, and they had a lot to do.
And they got Azazel back.
It's still crazy to me though, that like seeing that Toad, and first thing I thought, I'm like, oh, this is the Toad that almost like 1v5 the fucking X-Men in that first movie.
Yeah, this is Darth Maul as Toad.
Yeah, it's freaking Darth Maul.
Yeah,
that
fucking
dude balling.
Yeah.
As soon as you see like Azazel and Juggernaut and like Lady Deathstrike and all these characters, and even like I can't remember her name, but the character who like asks Wolverine, not Wolverine, she asks Magneto, like, you know, where's your ink? And he's like, no, like this was the Holocaust, bitch. No one's giving me a tattoo ever again. And like seeing those characters.
I have the crew written down. So it is Juggernaut, Azazel, Deathstrike. It is Psylocke, a different version. It's not Olivia Munn. It's Callisto, who does the line with Magneto, one of the Morlocks.
That's the one.
The Russian, who is the big guy in the
from the Punisher,
from the Punisher, and then there is a version of Bullseye, the guy in the leather jacket. It's supposed to be the Colin Farrell version, with
the shit cut in his head and stuff.
So it was cool that there's all these cameos from like these Foxverse movies that like you wouldn't expect to pop up, but it
was nice seeing even some of the characters where it wasn't the original actor. Like it was just refreshing to see them. So like especially I didn't realize it was Psylocke until like later, when they're fighting and you see that fucking purple. I was like, oh shit, like, but
no, I saw that purple hair. I knew it was her.
Except it wasn't Olivia Munn.
I'm surprised there weren't more like heroes that joined Cassandra Nova over time, you know, like some darker versions of X-Men heroes, because they were all villains, but like the Human Torch said, if you either are food for Alioth or you work for her. But we never saw any heroes working under her. So where is it? Like I know you can only afford so many people, but don't say those are the two options when we know there's a ton more people in the Void. Maybe like the Void now isn't as populated because of Loki taking over.
Yeah.
You know, like this is a new reformed TVA. They don't prune whole timelines anymore, just the Fox universe.
Right.
So
well, they let it happen naturally according to how like the info they gave. It's like they'll naturally die out.
Right.
Yeah.
So maybe it's just whatever's left kind of in the TVA now is what's surviving there, because not a lot more is getting pruned.
Yeah. And to touch on the Void more, it's cool all the other stuff that's in there. Like there is the Infinity War Thanos' ships are in there. You see like the wreckage from Titan, which is really cool. There's a bunch of other stuff in there that I noticed too.
And somewhere in that damn Void, they have Frog Thor.
Yes, Throg. Yes.
And that fucking Thanos copter is still there.
And the yellow jacket helmet.
Oh yeah.
Son of a bitch, I need to find the copter.
Yeah. All right. So then Johnny gets his skin ripped off, which is just so unsettling because like they clearly meant it to be unsettling and look awful because it's like it makes sense for it to look that way. But So
and his bones like falling down into a pile of blood. I literally in the theater I went, oh, like, I was like, oh shit.
He like blinks
The
for a
eyes
second.
blinking.
It's like
yeah, it's so crazy.
It's so gross.
Yeah,
But hilarious.
yeah,
I think they made the eye blink really loud, like blink, blink.
yeah. They did. They did. So that happens, and then we get into this fight, and like Cassandra Nova's like sticking her fingers in Deadpool's head. And I actually think like that made her as a villain unique, because it's like it's so cool to like that she used like the fake prosthetic fingers, and like you're just sticking through them. And I don't know, I found Cassandra Nova, Emma Corrin's character, of just like how she played this character, or how they, I believe, played this character, and how Cassandra Nova was like this just manipulative type of villain. And so I don't know, I appreciated Cassandra Nova as a character.
And I like how she said that, like, you know, she mentioned the fact that she's like, you know, Charles can do whatever he wants just using his mind. She's like, I have to get my hands dirty. And she's like, and like, we got to remember that Cassandra Nova in the comics is the one who, if you've seen X-Men 97, she is the one who went to, she's the one who pretty much did the mass extinction event for Genosha, and she killed like millions of mutants there. So she's like, in the show, it's different, but like in this movie, like in the comics, she's the one who does that. So I was like, oh, I know this bitch is evil, but I'm just like waiting to see what else she does. And so I kind of hated her right off the bat, but that's just because I love mutants, and I know that she's like a mass murderer for mutants. So I was like, I hate her. But the fingers, as you said, like her like peering in, and like you see her
reaching
fingers,
through
like,
their faces.
Yeah, like coming out of the front of their face, and like you see, even especially the one that freaked me out the most is when she has like half of her face over Paradox, and like you see it like just coming in and out, and she's moving it around in there, and you see like his head move a little bit when her fingers come up, and I was like, ugh, like it's so gross, but it just worked because it made her at least memorable in that way, because God knows she's not memorable because she barely did anything. But in the few scenes that she had, there's memorable movement because she's literally like inside. And even when she's in Pyro's head, then she like breaks his neck and throws him back in the void. I was like, oh, like, whoa. So her powers were really cool, but we didn't get to see a lot of her. It was almost like her and Paradox were fighting over who should be the villain in this movie. And it was like, you know, they kind of both were supposed to be, but especially at the end, when they come face to face, they were almost like fighting over like who should be the main villain. And ultimately Cassandra won out because she has powers, and Paradox is just a fucking limp dick guy. But like, it was just her. The fingers. I can't stop thinking about it. It haunts my dreams.
I mean, Paradox didn't even get the treatment at the end. I was like, okay, how are they going to deal with Paradox? I know I'm jumping forward. We can still go back. I'm just saying, you know, Cassandra got her comeuppance, but why did Paradox get off easy after he kind of put them on this whole chase kind of thing?
I think they're taking him to jail, but even then, we just see them like carrying him away. And I was like, okay, but what happened to him then?
Maybe he was like an intro to like the next
I was like, did he go to jail, or did he just like...
if you remember the TVA will just like wipe their memory and like
well, but do they still do that? Because this is a different TVA guy.
Right, and Paradoxes is like they're doing stuff under the nose of what the TVA is actually doing. So
well, the way I see it though, because like I think Cassandra had the best showing of how they demonstrated the telepath's power, because with the fingers it really showed how invasive it really is to go into somebody's mind. So demonstrating it with fingers really just sold the point of she's not asking for permission, she is forcing her way. And with all the movements, it really looked like she was just kind of demonstrating just she's moving shit aside to dig deeper and deeper into someone's mind, picking things out that she wants. And so I thought it was really cool. The whole movie, like I said, like in the beginning of this, I didn't give a shit who the fucking villains were, because you could have a fucking cardboard cutout for all I care. The main plot and the main journey was like the story itself of Wolverine and Deadpool doing shenanigans together. It was like a buddy cop movie in a weird way. Like, so it doesn't bother me too much that the villains were like fucking C tier, if lower. Like, I didn't care. I wasn't asking for the next Thanos level villain or something along those lines. I was just looking for just interaction between Deadpool and Wolverine throughout the whole time. Yeah. And I got what I wanted. So it's like, Cassandra was a nice little throw-in. Again, it was another nod to those who know, they know. Yeah. So like throwing in like Charles's twin, that is a legit thing. And so I was cool with it. And like, I think they demonstrated her powers really well.
Yeah, agreed. So Wolverine and Deadpool escape on the I don't know what to call it, the rocket thing. The generator. And so they escape, and this is where like where Deadpool is like on top of Wolverine. And then you get them talking about X-23, which is going to set up later, but then we get the cameo of Nice Pool, also played by Ryan Reynolds, and Dogpool, or Mary Poppins.
Mary Poppins Dogpool. Nice Pool is just so funny. Even like later when he says like,
the proposal.
I can break the fourth wall too. The proposal.
Of course, Nice Pool would make that his fourth wall break movie. He's the proposal, because it's like outside of all this stuff, it's probably like the one Ryan Reynolds like rom-com you would think of first.
It's just like, he's so funny. But I mean, the dog thing, Dogpool is funny. It's funny that it's literally the dog that won the contest for the ugliest dog in the world.
Yeah. Well, and it makes sense because it's literally Wade personified, because he's literally like ugly and just like,
you know, that's the thing in the comic, right? In the comics, he could heal himself to look like his normal self again, but like he just like is unable to allow himself to do it because of how he sees himself.
Okay.
When I tell you that when that dog had her tongue in his mouth, I was so grossed out. I was like, listen, it's not even the look of the dog that's ruining it. It's that big ass tongue is lurching so far back down Ryan Reynolds' throat. And like the fact that you could see it in the film, she's like, and it's like in his mouth. I was disgusted, but also it was so perfect, because I'm like, this is exact. And like the fact that Ryan Reynolds was like, and just like allowing it to happen and like moving his mouth, and I was like,
I don't think that's CGI'd. I think Ryan Reynolds.
No, that was real. Yeah, they have a clip of it behind the scenes, just watching him like get his teeth cleaned by this dog, and I'm like, this is so gross, but it's so funny.
Yep. And from that moment, Wade just wants to kill Nice Pool.
I love how he's just like, Mary Poppins inside. It's just, you going with me or you going with Van Milder over here, which is another perfect reference. Which leads to the proposal. Is that what you think I do?
The corn was too thick. I'm sorry.
Her ear tag goes with my ear tag.
I just loved how he was also like just falling in love with his specific gold guns too.
Yeah,
he's like,
I love how he slowly, after he had shit on that car the entire movie up to that point, he finally got in it, and he was just like having the time of his life. Especially when he's just like
the Spider-Man,
like practicing the Spider-Man, and like the fact that Wolverine's like, stop, and then Deadpool just goes and just like does the noise but just looks away. I'm so like, good. That is the perfect. It reminded me of the first movie when Deadpool was in the taxi and he's like rolling the window up and down, then he's like having his arm move in the window. I was like, he's just like, he doesn't know what to do in a car where he's not like he's not supposed to be talking the whole time. So he just like starts like doing random shit. And they're just like, shut up, bro. And he's like,
yeah, as someone riddled with ADHD,
and the restaurant
I totally get it, because 100%. And when they introduced like the Honda Odyssey to this movie, I had no idea what to think. I'm like, why a Honda Odyssey? That's not even that funny. I did not expect the Honda Odyssey to be my favorite set piece in this entire movie. Of all the beautiful places they go, the void in Ant-Man's corpse, you know, the Honda Odyssey was used perfectly. And it's like the perfect segue to get from like act 1 to 2 or like whatever 2 to 3.
I would say act 1 to 2, yeah.
But like, how do you get these two characters to pass out, to get kidnapped, to get them to the next act? You have them fight in a tiny Honda Odyssey until they exhaust each other for hours fighting overnight. You know
but also,
I mean?
Wouldn't add for a Honda Odyssey, because after they beat the shit out of each other in that Honda Odyssey, it still drove.
Yes.
A Honda Odyssey fucks hard.
Yeah.
I also love how, like, after they fought, like, you can clearly tell. I like how you can tell, like, every time they fight, you can tell who won. And, like, in that scene, Wolverine totally won because Deadpool is literally wrapped up in the seatbelt. And, like, he's just completely covered, almost looked like a mummy from head to toe.
So
and then
funny.
it's just like, they're just, like, laying there all passed out. And then, like,
well, Deadpool's fighting with broken bones and he's going to talk regardless, right? You have to fully incapacitate Deadpool just to even take a rest yourself.
Yeah. Gubernatorial.
That killed me.
I was laughing so
as a political science major, that joke, I was in the theater and he went, gubernatorial. And I went,
so
I was like, in the back, like, my friends are next to me, like, word mean? And I'm like, it's the word for like governor races. Yeah. And they're like, oh, okay. But I was like, it was so funny to me because I was like, as someone with I went for political science and I fucking hate that word. Because like for 2 whole years, I was also like, what does this word mean? Like, why is it so important? Why does it keep being mentioned? Like, I don't want to read the textbook, but what does it mean? But yeah, it was so good.
This scene really sorry, well, go ahead.
I was just saying, I like just what it led up to the fight, though, because again,
the Wolverine yelling.
Movie is, this is, I think, one of Hugh's best jobs in the role of Wolverine.
Yes.
Because when he snapped on Wolverine, or when he snapped on Deadpool, I felt that because I'm not saying Deadpool is like people who are like similar to Deadpool, where it's like they're always rambling or always trying to keep busy with something. But like I felt that in my soul of just like this dude's already not happy. And it all started because Deadpool slipped up because Deadpool just chatting and he's like, if they can fix it. And you just see him hit that brakes. He's like, the fuck you mean if? Like that is
educated wish.
Like that motherfucker I made it. What do you say? Educated wish?
Yeah.
But like everything leading up there, like it was kind of like crazy because here's Deadpool still like treating shit as he always does. And then finally Wolverine's just snapping and then he hits a nerve that Deadpool has. Like, and then all of a sudden Deadpool's like, I'm going to punch you in the face. And he hits him. And one thing I love though was it was almost like setting up like Deadpool was going to beat Wolverine's ass this scene. Yeah. Like, because it's like, oh, you finally pissed off Deadpool. He punched him, and you just see Logan take this shit and just deck the fuck out of him.
Yeah.
So quick in response.
And just his seatbelt on.
Yeah. Like, fight choreography, like, them having them fight within the Honda was hilarious, but also really good. And I did get a kick out of Deadpool gets thrown out, and you just see Wolverine's hand come up and go, come on. Come on back.
And then tosses the katanas and like has the little fist blades.
Hey, without
watching Logan's face though after like Deadpool goes, I'm gonna fight you now, and he says it like he's about to cry, and he goes, I'd like, and like gets hit so fucking hard that he's like, yeah, I'd like to, and then fucking socks him in the face, and he just goes like. And like gets so mad and just jumps back up, and Hugh Jackman's reaction in that scene was perfect. Of like I can't believe this motherfucker just punched me. And then he was like immediately joined in again on the fight and just also fucking The Greatest Showman playing for 0.5 seconds. And then it jumps to fucking my favorite movie, my favorite musical movie, and it jumps into fucking John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John.
Yeah.
It's literally my favorite part about this movie is when it uses a song for a fight. A lot of the songs in here, it uses the entire song. So like in the beginning of the movie, I'm like, oh, they're going to play Bye 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 for a little bit. Fuck no. They're going to play all of Bye Bye Bye, and they're going to fight the whole time. Oh, we're in this Honda Odyssey. We're going to fight for a little bit of the You're the One That I Want. No, we're going to fight for all of You're the One That I Want. And we're like, they're writing out the song, just fighting the entire time. And it was so good. It was almost like they called back to the original gag in Deadpool where he's like, have you seen this man? And then they like shove his face and you hear like the Batman where it's like do-do-do-do, and it just like keeps going back and forth between songs. And the fact that he just fucking slammed his head in there and you just hear like and you hear like the fucking The Greatest Showman, and then he slams it again. And then it's like boom, boom, boom. And I'm like, what a genre switch, number one. But it was perfectly used. Like seeing the soundtrack, I'm like, there's some good ass songs on the soundtrack. And then seeing how they used those songs was perfection.
Yes.
It was
The Greatest Showman more though.
I
could have
loved it. I was expecting.
It's like, hey, wait a minute.
Right? Like it's the one song Victoria was looking forward to the whole movie. And when we got out, she's like, when did they play this song? And I was like, for a millisecond when he gets his face off.
0.5 seconds inside of the Honda Odyssey in the middle of a fist fight. They played like 3.5 milliseconds of The Greatest Showman. And then they changed it to John Travolta.
They announced the music that they were going to use in the movie like beforehand. So I knew The Greatest Showman was in there. And part of me was really hoping that like one of the cameos we were gonna get of Wolverine was just Hugh in The Greatest Showman.
Yeah,
and Deadpool just sitting there in the stands going like, I could use this Wolvie or some shit like that.
During the Wolverine recruiting, like when it was like a bunch of those different Wolverines, I thought one of them was just gonna be a Greatest Showman Wolverine.
And you do see in the background of the Deadpool fight, one of the Deadpools is dressed up as like the he's dressed up with the like ringleader suit.
It's so
cool. I have to go back and see that. I've only seen the movie once, but the internet helped.
I've also only seen it once. But I was watching this movie like the government watches my search history. I was like deeply. I was like, I'm paying the fuck. My eyes were peeled. I was like, listen, I would rather shit and piss my pants than get up and miss a millisecond of this film.
Yeah.
I also like how like the radio really came into play with the music, like a lot of times you just get music playing, but it changes and then he gets thrown back into it, cuts the music off kind of thing. And when they get into it and they're playing Avril Lavigne, he turns up the radio and drives off into the distance. Music was really good for how ridiculous the soundtrack looked before you saw the movie. You're like, how are they gonna? And then it all worked really, really well.
Yeah, you saw NSYNC and you're like, how the hell are they going to use this in a Deadpool movie? And then we all saw it and we went the best way. That's how they used it the best way.
The only way.
Yeah. The other fun part of that fight was when like Deadpool is hanging out of the car ready to like stab Wolverine when he jumps in, and Wolverine just like decks the car and the airbag like pops Deadpool back. Like just like the smart like the strategy of how to like not knock Deadpool back.
So you're saying
the part that like
has great safety features?
Yeah, great.
The part that like freaked me out is when Deadpool's like hanging out of the rear windshield and like his arm is broken, so then he like whips it back, and I was like, ugh! Like,
when Wolverine like twists his arm, and he's like screaming while his arm's
no! He's like,
he may heal,
so good.
but it doesn't mean that they don't feel pain. They feel.
Yeah, he's not Ajax, okay?
Yeah,
he's
Francis.
They really hit us with like the strongest emotional scene of the movie of like Wolverine really bashing into him, and then followed it up with the coolest fight scene that still makes you laugh, but you're still
Also,
like within that rage, But
Some of the
Wolverine's
shit that
smiling
he
as like the
said
blood
was
drips onto his
heinous.
face.
Yeah.
It was heinous, but
yeah.
it was like at the same time though, like he finished roasted this man. I'm like, not a single thing he said was a cap. He did not lie.
Yeah, it was all true.
Disagree. I think it was too far. I was like,
I mean,
listen,
some
man.
of the things were a lie to like set you up, like you will never save the world, you know, which he ends up doing by the end of the movie.
Like fucking like protagonist shit, but like at the same time though, what he said, it wasn't like it was inaccurate in the moment. It's like he kind of had a point. Josh, I will give you. Did it cross the line? Oh, the line's nowhere to be found. We passed that like 3 miles ago. Like that line doesn't exist. But the funniest thing about the whole thing was Deadpool was cracking jokes about Wolverine throughout the whole movie.
Let's bring up that he literally talks about Hugh Jackman's divorce in the movie. He's like,
and they talk about. I'm jumping ahead a little bit. Fucking spoiler: Elektra, Jennifer Garner. They mention her divorce from Ben Affleck, aka one of the best Batmen. And Daredevil.
One of
they're
the
fighting,
best
and Daredevil, and they make the comment of like, Daredevil died. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, it's fine. And I was like, that's so fucked up. Like,
yeah. Well, so let's get into these roles that appear.
Like, Kev had something to say. I thought I heard him.
Oh no, I was just saying that was hilarious when she was like, "Oh, it's all right."
That's fine.
That's gonna be their road trip.
And I went, that's fucked up, bro.
Yeah. Well, let's get into the roles here. So we just brought it up. Jennifer Garner is Elektra. I mean, she's probably the one I was least interested in because like I didn't watch the 2003 Daredevil, and I definitely didn't watch Elektra.
I was a huge fan of the show Alias, so I was very excited.
I do like Jennifer Garner as an actress, and especially the Adam Project that she'd worked with Ryan Reynolds in that movie like a year or two ago. But just I don't know, like the character herself, like it was definitely like the one I was least excited for. It was cool that she was there, and it made sense. Like again, a misfit character that is in there. But in terms of like just the fighting style and everything, I obviously was way more excited for the other three to even watch them fight. But any thoughts on Jennifer Garner as Elektra?
Got boobs.
She did in fact have boobs.
She's got boobs. That's the sold.
I was happy to see my favorite 13 going on 30 actress in Deadpool. It was fantastic. When I was a kid is when these movies came out, and I love a lot from movies. I love a lot of movies that I saw as a kid. So like, I think Batman and Robin is good from a nostalgia standpoint of loving it as a child. So when I saw like Elektra and Daredevil, I was a kid and I'm fascinated with superheroes. So I know they're not great movies, but I love them because I'm like, it's like a part of my history of like coming into this world. And it's like all that nostalgia. But in this movie, I feel like she was allowed, obviously it wasn't like game changing, but she was allowed to hit her stride a little bit more. And it was really nice having her in the movie. It didn't feel like she was throwaway. She definitely helped, especially in the fight. And she gave I feel like it was a good but short performance. And I liked seeing her back. It was really nice.
Yeah, I get that. I just was comparing to the other roles that popped up there where it's just like
we gonna get to the best one. Best one.
I love how Ryan Reynolds was in Blade Trinity too.
Yes. Well, let's get into that. So yes, then we get Wesley Snipes as Blade, who has now reclaimed. He's now reclaimed his title, or not reclaimed. He claimed the title from Hugh Jackman as having the longest career in Marvel at 26 years now, and. I was shocked because Wesley Snipes and Ryan Reynolds from Blade Trinity, they notoriously
did not get along.
And so to see Wesley Snipes' Blade pop up as soon as he walked into frame, like, holy shit, they actually got Wesley Snipes to come
on the music as he walked in too, and you're like, oh, so badass.
Yeah. Is someone who doesn't know the tea between the two? Like, is there a reason they didn't get along?
They were in the movie Wesley Snipes just hated Ryan Reynolds, I guess, because he found him annoying. So that's
Wesley Snipes also near the end of the trilogy, he hated the Blade movies by the time he was done. So like, there's also like Wesley Snipes notoriously hated filming the third movie in general.
Yeah.
So I think it might have been more chalked up to that, and I think that might have influenced his hatred of Ryan Reynolds, because there's there's a scene where they're filming it, and Blade is supposed to have his eyes. Oh yeah, he's supposed to have his eyes open, and Wesley Snipes refused to open his eyes, so they had to give CGI eyes over his fucking body while he was laying down, just because he fucking hated the process and he refused to open his eyes.
He was afraid of needles. That was what it was.
Oh, okay.
It was afraid of he had a fear of needles, but yet, like what Josh said was true. He hated like the process towards how it got towards the end. He always loved Blade. He just hated what the process became towards the end. And I'll tell you what, out of all the fucking cameos, and he's older. Out of all the fucking cameos, seeing Blade and it being Wesley Snipes of all people to roll it. First of all, that man looks like he's never aged.
He really looked great. He really did.
He looked fucking fantastic.
The only Blade.
Yeah, there'll only ever be one Blade.
I don't even give a shit because I know that was a joke, and because even Deadpool gave a look to the camera that's like, wait until he knows. But at the end of the day, it really felt like Wesley Snipes just kind of, again, a headcanon thing. I'm not gonna confirm, say it's official. I really feel like Wesley Snipes went off the fucking script and made everybody know there's only gonna be one fucking Blade.
Yeah.
And in reality, unless this Blade movie that comes out is phenomenal by all stretch of imagination, it's gonna be tough to get rid of Wesley Snipes' Blade in people's hearts.
Yeah, I mean, Mahershala Ali's a great actor, but we'll have to see what the script does and what everything.
The Blade movies were so underrated.
Is Blade gonna happen? Is it?
I mean, it might not even happen at this point. So I think that's also what the funny.
He might not even open his eyes to sign the contract. You know what I mean? So.
Well, he's not in it.
The new Blade is the new Blade. I'm looking forward to it, but it was fantastic if it ever happens. But it was fantastic to see Wesley Snipes again, because as Cam mentioned, as soon as he walks in, you just see and it's the sick ass music, and he walks in, he's giving the side eye with the glasses on, he has the blades, and I'm like, oh fuck, it looked awesome. He's walking in and it's cool, and the fact that the first word out of his mouth in the Marvel Cinematic Universe is a fucking slur.
Yeah,
is the funniest shit
retired.
Ever. Yeah, and he goes, "Yeah, I thought you were retired," and he hits back with a very different R word, and he goes, "No,
we don't want to get canceled.
I don't want to get canceled. I already got here," and it was perfect. But yeah, him showing up as Blade was legitimately. So when I'm watching a movie and something happens and I freaking love it, I'll literally be in the back of the theater and I'll just raise my arms up above my head and just sit there. And I was just, and I just had my hands together the entire time. Also, it looks like we're being joined by Kid Pool on this podcast right now.
This is the youngest pirate. Yep.
How did that come from that? She's so sweet and
damn,
right? That's what I said.
Yeah.
What do you mean,
that
damn,
milkman?
bro?
Those
What do you
two
mean,
do make
damn,
a cute
bro?
kid.
But I was going to say the quote that Wesley Snipes made famous, but I don't want to do it with the kid there. But the quote from Blade about skating uphill, that was a line from the first Blade that he said again. And then just the way he even just shoots a guy, just takes out the gun, just boom, one shot, just it's so good. And
he was perfection in this. They did him so much justice in this movie.
Listen, I really appreciate how much of a fan you all are of Blade, but I need us to move along to the next one.
Yes, here we go. This is one I was super excited that he actually showed up. Kevin and I did predict it in our last podcast. And so I was really excited for Channing Tatum as Gambit to pop up, and just the fact that he even had like the accent, and like even though it was hard to understand, which they obviously referenced, who's your dialect coach, the Minions. Was
even though that's the
would have been better 10 years ago in 2014 when they greenlit his movie.
Yes, yeah, it was such a good reference to that.
It was so good because they had such an over the top comics accurate costumes where it looked like a cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was so perfect that it was ridiculous, but then he was also like a good fighter.
Mm-hmm.
And like the card powers in X-Men Origins looked so bad, and here they looked so good. It was it was such redemption, while at the same time completely making fun of him and Channing Tatum. Like it was so good.
Yes,
I feel like the accent,
and he's just like going.
I always get a kick though of how they like, because he's iconic with the cards though. They always like demonstrate his power as if it's like, oh, he like can control cards in a way. It's like that's not really what it is, but I get what the flavor is. It still looks good. I was a sucker for it. Like I still fell for it. But like in the reality though too, I was just like, I'm like, that man can make any object a living bomb. Like like I know he puts his little Cajun flair on things and it makes it look charming, but it's like that dude is like a walking nuke. Like we need to be careful with what he does. Like,
and they show his staff in the final fight too, where they show like his energy with the staff, and it was perfect. And it really like seeing him on screen in the comic accurate costume with the cards. I was literally like, it hit so much differently, and it was so good. Just because also, like, just a few short months ago, we were watching X-Men 97, and we were getting, like, the most comic-accurate depictions of these characters. And now, like, because we've seen Gambit before, it just wasn't Channing Tatum, and it was way less cool. But, like, seeing Channing Tatum in that garb, like, with the headpiece and, the chest plate, it was awesome. And I was literally, like, afterward... One of my friends is a huge Gambit fan, and I made her watch the animated show, and I watched her cry for 5 minutes straight. But it was just like, it was so good seeing him, and it just felt right. And it just looked phenomenal. His accent was goofy, but also like, that's Gambit. And it was just so, And he was like, and he's just like, oh, I'm going to make a name for myself today. And and he's just like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't understand you. It was so good.
The accent is already supposed to be like a weird one, because he's like a New Orleans guy who was raised by French thieves with an American slang, so it's weird regardless. But I feel like he definitely went over the top with it for this, because you need to set Deadpool up for accent jokes. Like that's the main thing you're gonna make fun of Gambit for.
That was one of the things when he wanted to play Gambit so bad. He was on Ellen or somebody talking about how like he would be so good at this role because he could do the Cajun accent because he's from New Orleans. Yeah. So like that was one of the like selling points of him playing this role that he never even got to do. So to make fun of that was like,
I loved the look of it. I just feel like Channing Tatum's build as a human being doesn't fit in that costume anymore. Like 10 years ago, yes. But like obviously that's who you're gonna get to play this version of Gambit for this movie. Because like he was born in the void because his movie never fucking existed in the first place, right? But
I did love the dialogue that they had with the heroes and all that, because like again, amongst the humor, like again, they did a really good job implementing like some actual real deep like kind of emotions, because again, what they were saying, they're like, people forgot about us, people forgot about the lives we saved, what we done, and then Tatum, like Gambit was like, or never got to, like he literally was like, never got a chance, and it was like all really well done references to the real life state, what happened to their movies and franchise. And then also we got back to our main girl, all grown up.
Let's talk about Daphne Keane is back as X-23. Laura, just all grown up. She was so good. I know the trailer spoiled her, which I was a little upset about, but like it obviously like. She was just so good. especially like putting in the scene of her and Logan talking, and you get to hear what he did. That, I mean, just that conversation that motivates him to join back in the fight is just so good. So well done.
I was worried that they weren't, like, that was going to be it, just them being there, because they were like, oh, we're not going to go to Cassandra Nova's thing to help you fight. That's suicide. Like, what happened to Johnny? And Wolverine said that they got him killed. I was like, these people aren't going to go with them and help them. So I was really worried that all we were going to see of these three characters was that scene of them all in this like enclosed like base, you know, like you see him grab the card as he comes in, introduces himself. That would have been good enough for me. And then they do it.
Yes.
The fan service that came from that changed.
We get to see Daphne Keene like have the emotional like supporting character of like motivating him, but then we also get to see her go back to the like being crazy with the claws.
Vicious. The way she fights too, of like going for the legs and like of Juggernaut and like cutting his feet off, and then like having the sunglasses, obviously the reference to Logan. Just so good. I love that they captured her fighting style and that reference with
he was the sad the poor girl got pruned though, right?
Was she what?
Well, like this is clearly the same version.
Yeah, I think this is the same version, and she got pruned. Yeah.
So but like my favorite aspect of like the indoor, I wanted to mention this real quick because I was like, it was when they show the inside of the hut and they immediately show you the ceiling, which is Wanda's statue,
yes, Scarlet Witch,
and I was like, oh shit, like the Scarlet Witch is like she's being represented in this too, and like the fact that they the fact that we had a statue of the Scarlet Witch show up and Magneto was mentioned in the same scene. And I swear they've been teasing the hell out of me because that is his daughter and they've yet to talk about it yet. And I just want it to be acknowledged. I need it because it's true. It's true. That's her father. So I want it. I need it so bad. And we were so close. I was like, oh my God, like we saw the Scarlet Witch statue and we like talked about Magneto. He's dead, but we talked about him.
Yeah.
And it was
now you decide to get cheap.
Exactly. But just knowing that like Magneto existed, I was like, and it was so funny because I was expecting Wade to make another like, was he young and look a little Michael Fassbender-y or was he like old? And I was expecting that. I was surprised we didn't hear it, but it was so good. And yeah, the Wanda statue, really, I got really excited when I saw that. And obviously that's as far as it went, but I'm a huge Wanda guy. I love Doctor Strange. Anybody that uses magic, I am obsessed with them as well, which is hilarious because I've never seen Harry Potter. But I just love all the magic stuff that happens in Marvel, and I adore it so much.
Yeah, I love that it was X-23 was the perfect person to go talk to Logan to get him out of this rut. And it was like, even though it's a different version, it's still Logan at its core. You know, they always seem to hint at. And like, I just love how like she just didn't criticize a single thing he said. Like she just listened. Just because like she got to know a version of Logan already that been through a lot as well. Because the Logan she got to know also lost everybody. Granted, it wasn't due to his doing. He just lost everyone through time. I mean, he ultimately did have to kill Charles, you know, like, but still, like, she knows this, so she was just listening, and then I love the little touch of just when he's like, I'm not the one, and she's like, you never were,
right?
You never were, but you always stepped up, and it was like, cool, awesome, and then she walked away, and it was perfect, awesome, great choice of who was going to motivate him. And then sure shit, when they were getting the lineup thing, him coming out of the trunk was just fucking fantastic. I got hyped. I knew he would be there, but I still got hyped seeing him part of that lineup.
Oh, it was so good. It was so good. So then so we get the compound fight. You get Pyro being a double agent, yada, yada, yada through that. And let's get back to New York. We got of course, the line of, Disney is going to make him do this till he's 90 with Hugh. which is
and with their actions that they've been doing with other actors.
With RDJ, yeah, we're gonna get
realistic.
Till they're 90.
Till they're fucking 90. I mean, if they're good with it, they're good with it. I won't discredit people choosing to stay around, but at the same time, holy shit, Disney, Jesus fucking Christ, they need to get their fucking shit together. I'm sick of it.
Yep. All right, well, let's get into, of course, the Deadpool core showing up, using Nightpool as a human shield. But we have our cameos here as well. So you have Blake Lively, Ryan's wife, playing Lady Deadpool. And then you have Matthew McConaughey as Cowboy Deadpool. All right. And you get Headpool is voiced by Nathan Fillion, who, of course, was in Guardians 3 as well. And my mom's favorite show, Castle.
And he was in the first Guardians, too.
Yes, he was in the first Guardians as the blue alien that gets like Groot's fingers up his nose. Yeah. So
which was disgusting.
Yeah. So that was cool. And Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively's kids were Baby Pool and Kid Pool. So
it's Uzi time, baby.
Uzi time, baby.
Uzi time, baby. Woo. That phrase, I was like, damn.
So we got,
I need therapy. This is making me hot. This is weird. I need therapy.
When they got Ryan Reynolds' daughter to say, like, if I wanted to hear you talk, I'd take Wolverine's dick out of your mouth.
Yeah.
At first I was like, man, who would allow their kid to like say that? And then the credits went by. I was like, it was his daughter. Like, no wonder. I was like, never mind. This makes sense now. But it was so funny. I was like, that's perfect.
I like to think the camera's cut. He's like, sweetie, your line was, we're going to kick your ass. What was that?
But no, I mean, it's probably better to have it be his daughter as Kid Pool rather than Walker Scobell. Because, I mean, a lot of people wanted it to be Walker Scobell from the Adam Project and Percy Jackson. But, like, I'm glad that it was his daughter. It's funnier. So, all right. So then... Yes, here we go. So then we finally get, after 24 years, the Wolverine cowl is here, and you get the awesome fight scene of Wolverine and Deadpool versus the Deadpool core, even just like, with Like a Prayer by Madonna playing, and you get them just like the bus scene of them just like stabbing all the Deadpools. The bus also has Stanley Steamer on it, so the Stan Lee cameo. And then they come out of the back of the bus and Deadpool screws up the dismount, which is hilarious.
I'm such a catty bitch when I'm jealous.
Dude, the mask
on this.
The fucking cowl looked so fucking I was genuinely surprised, but when I seen that fucker lean back, I was just like, there's no way. And like I didn't want to believe it until I have it. And he just kept going, and then I seen it. I don't even care. Like, I don't even give a shit what people say about how goofy the eyes look. It was fucking perfect to see on the big
screen.
The
eyes did not look goofy to me.
It fucking rocked. And then the shot when he's fucking crouched over in his pose, full cowl on, holy goddamn shit. It literally looked like they took Wolverine from X-Men 97 and plopped it right next to Deadpool. And I was like, this is fucking Wolverine. Like, this is fucking Wolverine right here. And then the shot of them leaving the bus before Deadpool, like, fails to dismount.
Yeah.
Like, him, like, in the crouched position. Like, it's just so... I
hope we can get a vision of that without all the glass in the way. Like, it was still beautiful, but, like...
I fucking love how for the remainder of the movie, for a majority of the end of the movie, they kept it on. It wasn't a gag. It was a legit thing. I was... happy to see it, but I thought it was gonna be a gag, like, I can't fucking see, or some dumb shit.
They kept
it on. Like when Deadpool took off his mask,
he was just so badass.
They kept it on for majority of the time to where I got that fucking satisfaction of seeing it, and it was perfection. I loved it.
And it was funny because one of the things that people were like complaining about is, I hope they don't only wear the mask for like 10 minutes. And then that's exactly what they did. And it was the best 10 minutes. Like it was it's funny because everyone was talking about it. And he finally, like, I remember he put it on. And there was, in my theater, it was only me cheering. But for this moment, like, I'd say that 2 other people joined me. And it was like, okay, finally, here's where the community part steps in. And, like, it was so good just having him, like, pull it up. And he's like, oh my God, like your mask. And he's like, I wear it for killing mostly. And I'm like, oh yes, like here we go. And it was, yes, everything just looked perfect. And him, like some of the fighting they were doing too, where it's like there's like 10 Deadpools all together trying to push Wolverine back.
And he's just
and
like
Wolverine is just like scratching all of them with his claws, and Deadpool's like pushing Wolverine from behind to move up. And like the way that they kill some of these Deadpools is just so funny. Like the one who's on the bus, and he like sits in the handle and he turns to the cage.
Yeah,
and then they just like it was so good. But like that cowl moment was probably like the best moment for the MCU.
But even just walking by with like right before even they start fighting of Deadpool killing Nicepool to get his guns, you know, and then Wolverine just walking over with the dog, like nobody's gonna shoot me.
That was so fucking
good. You know, they're so good.
Oh,
and he gets over there and died by murder, you fuck. Yeah. Like, just so real when Deadpool, like, cause you can still relate to Deadpool hitting the body, like, oh, he was so young and pretty.
And then he finally says, "You really are God's perfect idiot, aren't you?"
Yes, that was such a good line too.
I'll tell you what though, like it was at this point because like we've seen a lot of fight scenes, but like this portion and like somebody else, like I remember seeing somebody else bring this up, and I think this is actually like I want to call it critique, but it was a pretty good point they were talking about. They're like, even though it's still a rated R movie, you can definitely see like how Disney toned it down compared to the previous Deadpool movies. Because just because there's a lot of blood, it doesn't always necessarily mean gory. Because like in the first Deadpool, you see a lot more like body mutilation and shit like that, like dismemberments and stuff like that. You didn't see that much in this movie. It was a lot more just piercing and a lot more blood splatter, which isn't a bad thing. But I definitely like it was at that point I was like, oh, you know, like it's gritty. It's I wouldn't even say it's gritty. I would just say it's very blood filled, which is definitely a difference compared to the previous Deadpool movies. But like I think again that was like Disney's like, we'll give you a rated R movie. We'll let you make jokes at us, but we still need to keep the mouse happy in some ways. We'll give you blood. We'll give you the blood.
Yep.
We'll give you blood and abs.
Yep, abs. We'll get to that very, very shortly. Then Peter Pool shows up because all the other Deadpools can regenerate as well. And all the Deadpools love their Peter. So he shows up, and then we get down to the moment of Deadpool and Wolverine going down and getting the Time Ripper to destroy it and kill Cassandra Nova, and them holding hands and working together to blow up the Time Ripper. And it was so good to like a prayer, and like to have it be like this orchestral version of that was just so good.
I fucking loved this scene. Like I didn't think, you know, usually you're at this point in the movie, it's kind of like just dragging on, you're just getting to the end stuff. Oh, they're gonna destroy the machine and it's whatever. But when it's Deadpool and Wolverine, their chemistry just doesn't end. Like them arguing about who's gonna go in there and do it. Like,
yeah,
I'm convinced, it's gonna be Wolverine, and then Deadpool goes into the last second and just like fucking with them by like coming in,
walking down the stairs,
walking down the stairs, like just kept going. I'm like, Victoria sitting next to me is just like, oh my God, just go do it. You're running out of time. And I'm like, no, this is perfect. This is exactly what I wanted this to be.
We have time. We always have time for this.
Yep. And then you get the line I'm sure Josh loved with, it's like Batman, except he can't move his neck.
Yes, I did. Listen, one of my favorite like Batman, I have a very weird list for my favorite Batman. My number one. No, that's not my favorite. I think he's really good. But I think it's yes, Michael Keaton is my number one Batman. When I was a kid, I first saw those movies. Those are the first, other than like it was Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, and it was Michael Keaton Batman that really like those are the first comic book movies I ever saw. So Michael Keaton Batman's always been my guy. And every time I hear a reference to like him not being able to move his neck in the suit, hilarious. Yeah. It definitely was. Brookie, you were right, because I heard it in the theater and I went, ha ha! And everyone else is like, Why is that so funny? Like Ben Affleck and Christian Bale moved to their neck. What are you talking about? And I'm like, you imbeciles! Like, we're not talking about them. Listen. Fucking.
I feel like to fully understand the humor of the movie, you have to be someone like us, right?
Loving pop
Motherfucker.
culture.
Like, it's funny for the casuals because, like, either way, hearing that somebody can move their neck, you know, you might laugh at that. But, like, for Josh, that meant so much as a joke, and for so many fans like him, right? There were jokes in there for everyone, but for big comic fans like Tribe of Nerds podcast people, this movie delivered every minute. Like every 60 seconds, there was something for you to love about this movie. And that's a really hard thing to do with the runtime that they had, you know? And I can only talk positives about this movie, which is so shocking to me because I totally expected to have a couple negatives, but I really don't.
It shows how much like love and care they put into it. Because like so often nowadays, like, you know, Brookie and I were talking about this before the podcast. Everyone has been so negative. And I don't always blame them because some of the projects we've gotten have been lackluster. And, you know, sometimes it feels like a movie was made kind of like a cash grab, Craven. So it feels like some of these movies are really just made to get money, but like Venom 2. But it's just like, you know, sometimes you'll actually get references in a movie and it's like, you know, they put a lot of thought and care. And this was like years in the making. So even like we've been recording this podcast for like 3 days now. So like a couple of days ago when we were talking about the openings for like all the Wolverine cameos, that's a lot of love and care. And like, as Cam mentioned, for us who know these comic books and we know these looks, it really like struck a chord. And it kind of like for like a couple different parts in this movie, you're just like, it almost feels like this movie was, it doesn't feel like it. This movie was tailored for us. Like it was made for those people who have been fans of Marvel since before Ryan Reynolds put his happy ass into that red suit. And it was just awesome. And it's like even these small references we've talked about, like they have the Hulk's bed from Ragnarok, or they have the Scarlet Witch statue from Multiverse, and like they have the Captain America shield and Iron Man's helmet, and they have Juggernaut back and Chris Evans's Johnny Storm, and all of these elements perfectly mixed together. And it was almost like, as Ryan Reynolds kind of talked about it after the movie came out, it's like a love letter to the Fox side, because we got those MCU references, but it was really that love letter, because like, you know, the X-Men movies, that's where Kevin Feige started as a producer, and now he's the head of Marvel Studios, and his franchise has crossed $30 billion. They have 34 films and like 6 TV shows, and they're working on video games are going to be coming out soon, and all of this cool stuff that they've done. And it all spawned from Kevin Feige working on X-Men and like meeting Hugh Jackman. And then all the way like 24 years later, here we are getting these references to some characters we haven't seen in 24 years. And it was really nice. And it's, you know, I think it gave a lot of those superhero fans who were at a loss and they kind of hated post Endgame Marvel, or they didn't like a lot of the content that was coming out. I think it kind of rejuvenated them too. Do I really care about them? No, they can eat dirt. But like, you know, it felt like it was crafted for us. So I think this movie was really like a unifying film for the people that are on both sides of the fence for the current MCU or even previous Marvel, because it was just that perfectly crafted love letter from Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman to a Fox movie universe that gave them a lot. And then also even from Kevin Feige, like, hey guys, this is how I started my career. Like, I might not have worked on all these movies, but these movies do mean a lot to me. And I've wanted to use these characters for a long time. So I'm sure that even for Kevin, it was probably emotional, because it's like, you know, we've waited to see the X-Men or mutants in general in the MCU for literal decades now, like over 10 years. And it was super like, what would it like 15 years? And it was super nice. And it just meant a lot. Even like, you know, I'll touch on it a little bit with like the tribute that they have for Fox in the end credits and stuff. Like it really made me like I kind of got there, and I'm someone who's really had a hard time processing my emotions a lot in life because my family doesn't show emotions a lot. But it was kind of like I was kind of kicking back some tears in the movie theater because it's like, you know, watching all these bloopers and seeing all these actors that we haven't seen. And like, you know, they're showing Halle Berry as Storm or James Marsden as Cyclops, like these people who kind of jump started the superhero movie trend when I was -1 years old. While my dad was fucking my mom, they were making X-Men, and like all this stuff was like they were preparing to release these movies that were going to mean a lot to me. And like even now, Fox franchise, we haven't seen a James Marsden Cyclops in like I think it was like 8 years because he showed up in
Days of Future Past.
Yep, that's the one. He showed up in that one, but like I have the James Marsden Cyclops right here, and it's like so this still means something to us. And you know, it wasn't always perfect. For every X-Men First Class, you also got to have your Wolverine origins, and it's you know, it was a balancing act, and they didn't always hit it, but also you know, we got our Logan, we had our Days of Future Past, we had our well, really, that's it. No, I'm kidding. But like we had our Deadpool 1 and 2. We got all these really good movies that meant a lot to us. Even if they weren't always the best movies, they were our movies. So it was kind of that's how I viewed it. And if you're a Marvel fan, that's probably going to be the biggest reason that you love this movie because it's really it takes everything that you loved from the comics and even from previous movies, and it wrapped it up in a nice little bow, and they put it all in this one very beautiful film.
Absolutely. Couldn't have said it better myself. Let's finish this and the movie, and then we'll get our rankings and close it out. All right. So they blow up the Time Ripper, kill Cassandra Nova, and of course, because he's Marvel Jesus and they work together, he has risen, baby girl, and Wolverine and Deadpool survived the explosion. And
through the power of friendship.
Yes. So
through the power of Disney, because we still need these characters.
Yep, till they're 90. And of course you get it's nice to see more ties into Loki because Hunter B-15 from the Loki series shows up and finds out that Paradox has been doing stuff under their nose, and so Paradox.
And she finds out that Peter has a big dick too.
Yes, she's looking at you look really nice in that suit. So, but it's so nice to even tie into the shows more because, as we said, some of the products haven't done that. They've kind of ignored the shows, and like because people didn't, some of the directors and writers didn't even watch the shows or read the comics. Unfortunately, Will and I touched on that in our Comic-Con podcast. So like to have them actually show love to the Loki series and like how that kind of formed like the multiverse and in this, it's really nice to see. So that happens, and Wade and Wolverine, I really appreciated how like she even is like, we're not, you know, this is everything that this Wolverine has been through made him who he is, so we're not going to go reverse it. That I appreciated, that they actually were just like, this is who he is. And so the movie ends, Wolverine and Logan, or Wolverine and Wade, Deadpool, are together now with everybody, and X-23 is with them. And yeah, then we get the close-up shot of the masks, and boom, we head to the credits. So let's just talk about, of course, our tribute to the Fox movies, as Josh mentioned. And this was a really fun surprise to see this and just like see all the production on everything, even if it wasn't very good, because they showed stuff from Fan 4 Stick, which is shocking, but it's cool to like, yeah, this happened, like, you know, we're still proud of it, so it's really cool. But your guys' thoughts on the end of the movie here and this tribute?
I mean, Josh said it best with just the whole how they wrapped it up. Honestly, like, it was a good conclusion. It was like overall, and it was at that point, it was a good message of just, this isn't kickstarting Marvel again. This is ultimately saying goodbye to the Fox universe. And like I said earlier, without the Fox universe, you don't have Marvel. It's just plain cut. I don't care about quality of movies. They kickstarted, and the foundation always starts off a little rough. You're not always going to have perfect movies straight off the rip. The way I see it is, if they were all terrible, as we sometimes look back on them now as to be, Marvel wouldn't exist if they were actually that terrible. I think they were okay at the least for what they were. Some of them I may not like, and I will say they're bad, but at the end of the day, they still got the job done, and that's what matters. It was cool seeing the bloopers. It was in a weird way, like Josh said, like the nostalgia was kind of hit because I was just like seeing how young some of these actors look compared to what they are now.
You looked so young back then. It's crazy.
Oh, yeah, and like just the start of it all and everything. It was crazy. I dug it, and I think it was like this movie was felt like the ultimate conclusion movie for a lot of characters, because it was a great way of just being like, hey, these were, and it's specifically those versions of those characters, because we're forever going to be stuck in nostalgia, because nostalgia is like the biggest enemy to new art, and we're forever going to be like, oh, they shouldn't recast this role, they shouldn't do that, they should bring back so and so. They gave them their moments, and at some point it's just like, you got to know when to say goodbye. They had their final run, and I think it finally ended on a good note for them, on a very successful movie too. So it was just like, cool, that's awesome. And then ultimately, I wouldn't be surprised if, like, because of this movie, it got people to go back and watch some of the older movies, just to be like, oh, let me take a trip down nostalgia lane. Like, let's see if it's what I remember or whatnot, or let me just enjoy the early 2000 era where things were extra goofy, even in terms of comic book movies. But it was a great movie. I had a good time with it. Ending was just a nice treat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Cam, any thoughts?
Oh, they just got done fucking. Sorry.
Oh my God, look at them. Did they just fight in a Honda Odyssey, or did they?
Yeah, Kevin and Sara have gone.
You better shape up.
They were smasturbating, I
It's
believe.
really frustrating because I keep stabbing her and she will not die.
She has regenerated.
You tried stabbing her with something other than your dick. I'm just saying.
She has
What the fuck?
That is not what either of us want.
That is Cameron's job. For what?
I can't wait for my visit.
In the back.
Yeah, we can't wait for December when Kevin and Cam have the room to themselves.
I know. I've already prefaced this to Victoria that. Moving on, I really liked Deadpool and Wolverine. Overall, the ending was really good. Like, shirt ripping off, abs.
Yeah,
like
the abs.
No male, regardless of sexual orientation, is gonna look at Hugh Jackman's shirtless body and be like, nah. You can still respect that that's a nice looking man.
Yes,
Dude,
absolutely.
Like,
workout.
and I feel like you knew what was gonna happen with like the connecting both things, the paradox, everything. Cassandra Nova kind of went out unceremoniously, but didn't really care at that point. We've had so much. And going into the end of the movie, I was pretty happy with how it all laid out, because it's all calm again. You kind of start where he wanted to be, with the people who meant the most to him at the time. And then he got Wolverine to stick with him, because Wolverine was like, this has been fun, honestly, whatever. I'm just going to go walk off and do my own thing. And Deadpool just grabs him and brings him home, Come hang out with me, Blind Al, and my friends, and we'll see where this goes in the Marvel Universe. Even though they didn't even end up in the Marvel Universe by the end of the movie, which shocked me, because like in all of the trailers, you assume that when they jump through that portal, that's going to be the end. They're in the MCU, right? But that's just not how it works out. So it prefaces more that the MCU is this multi-universal like compilation now, because Deadpool is Marvel, but he's not in the 616 universe. So it's
especially leading into Secret Wars.
Yeah.
I know. Okay, Battle World is going to be sick, and I can't wait. With like everything we have coming up, I don't even care that it's Robert Downey Jr. just because we're getting the Doctor Doom Battle World.
We're getting Doom.
Oh, It's good to be a
Victor
fan again.
Jack!
It's good to be a fan again. So thank you, Deadpool and Wolverine, for restoring my hope in Marvel and comic movies in general. We weren't exhausted from superhero movies. We were just getting
good ones.
Slob fest of Marvel movies.
Brookie said we missed the good one.
Yeah. So I'm happy overall, and I don't think like this movie's gonna stand the test of time. Unlike some of those X-Men movies, I'll watch Deadpool and Wolverine 30 years from now and be like, that was a great movie.
Yeah. Kevin and Sarah, since you've been gone.
Yeah, welcome to the end of the recording, Kevin.
Giving her a tour of my house and like talking to her kids and shit.
Gross.
So I watched another YouTube channel where they at the end they say best movie ever or worst movie ever to every movie they review. So this would definitely go in the best movie ever category. I am always gonna like Days of Future Past more than any other X-Men movie. It's just I apologize to those who don't love it as much as I do. I don't know what to tell you. You don't have good taste because that movie is perfect. Cody. But yeah, this was great. It paid respect to all those movies that I love without just being like a string of cameos that didn't do anything, and it was a little like the things that I see people complaining about that didn't make sense are things that make sense to me. So I don't agree.
It's people,
you know what I mean? So like
because they can,
right? So
there's some fair criticism.
Yeah. So, like I said, best movie ever.
Sarah, any thoughts before we hit our rankings here?
Yeah, I thought it was good. Like, yeah, gross. Like Kevin said, yeah, the star-studded cast. Like, they could have just relied on the names that were within it, but Ryan Reynolds, like, he's really worked really hard to even like get Deadpool to be a thing. So, like, I know he's really invested in like how it goes, like, is perceived and presented. So I don't think he would have just let anything fly. You know what I mean? So I'm excited to see where they take it from here.
And guys, we also have to acknowledge that Sara was actually in this movie. Sara played the role of Dogpool throughout the filming of Deadpool and Wolverine.
I did.
Give it up for Sara.
Thank you.
She was licking all up in Ryan
like,
Reynolds' mouth.
Right
Ryan Reynolds opened that mouth, and Sara said, "You son of a bitch, I'm in." And it was game over at that point.
And then you see in the background Cameron going, "Wish it was me."
I do wish it was me. Are you telling me that none of you wish you could be Dogpool licking into Ryan Reynolds' mouth?
I would never say that.
I'm telling you that.
I'll tell you that.
I will say that.
Ryan Reynolds literally posted a video of behind the scenes of that dog just licking into his mouth, and he like laughs and walks off.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, there was no CGI in that. He just,
That's just
real.
real.
Full on make out with him. And you know what's funny is some dog owners really do. And
I would have done that to Hugh Jackman if I was
There's an extent
Dogpool,
to it that is an acceptable amount for me. Like I would probably share my ice cream with my dog, but I wouldn't just sit there and let it go to town.
See, if I was Dogpool, I would have licked Hugh Jackman's asshole instead of Ryan Reynolds' mouth. I would have been.
There's a
been in a
visual
couple
that's
different.
still inappropriate. With
All right, well,
bestiality.
let's get out of
here. This is me as Dogpool.
Let's get into our rankings.
What the fuck?
Fucking white people.
Okay, whatever's going
you're
on.
The whitest one
Kevin
here.
and
You're
Sarah's
wearing that
phrase is
hick ass
crazy
hat
right
with
now.
that. You're wearing that
Just
hick
stabbing
ass
down
hat
at the baby hands.
I'm literally the definition of white and nerdy here. I think I'm the whitest one here.
Yeah, you are frat boy.
Baruki is white and nerdy? No way.
All right, so here's the rankings of everything we watched over the course of the X-Men rewatch. First Class at number 1, Days of Future Past number 2, Deadpool 2 and Deadpool 3 and 4, Logan 5, X2 6, X-Men 1, 7, and Last Stand in last, fittingly enough.
So Kevin.
So I'm putting Deadpool and Wolverine at my number 1. So I just really enjoyed this movie. It was rewatchable the second time. I'm sure it'll hold up well on more rewatches. But let's see what you guys.
I'm waiting to hear what Kevin says.
It's going to stay behind Days of Future Past for me.
So that's just how it's always going to be. I don't care if like Emma Frost herself comes to life and like mind controls me and walks off the page in full diamond form. I'm still gonna like Days of Future Past the most. So it's gonna be behind Days of Future Past for me. But with that in mind, I think that it is a very good movie. Like I'm not at all saying I'm not gonna say that you guys are wrong to put it at number one if you want to put it at number one. I'm just saying.
Oh, I'm not.
Nothing's ever going to top Days of Future Past for me.
I'd like to travel back to the beginning of the podcast where Kevin did in fact say that if you put anything in front, that you would be wrong and your opinion is bad.
Roll the tape. Roll the tape.
Kevin's like,
listen, I mean, listen, you are wrong if you think it's better than Days of Future Past, but I can't help that. I'm not going to argue with you.
Kevin's the Johnny Storm of this podcast.
The problem is the list is already skewed because X-Men Origins isn't number one.
Oh, God.
Let's back out of that. Okay. Sorry, Internet. We're canceled now, but if you'll just give us one more moment of your time, we will change this narrative.
All right. Where's everybody else putting it? Kevin is at number 2. I have it number 1.
What are the top 5 movies that we have?
I think Kevin has it at number 3, doesn't he? Because he said it's behind Days of Future Past.
Hey, what's the speed on those blowjob handles?
Because I think you said on the ranking, number 1 is First Class. Number 2
I was saying
is
Kevin's personal rankings. He said number 2.
Gotcha.
Yeah, First Class,
Kevin,
Days of
don't
Future
stop.
Past,
That was
Deadpool
perfect.
2, and Deadpool 1 and Logan are the top 5 for Sarah's question.
Where was Deadpool 1?
Deadpool 1 was at number 4.
Wow, that's pretty low, actually. Oh, I wasn't here to rank that.
Yeah, you weren't.
God, man, y'all did that dirty.
I'll
Y'all
put it
did
at the
that
top
dirty.
for me because I enjoyed it. Because especially, I love First Class. Don't get me wrong, and I love Days of Future Past. But also, I love this movie and how it can reference kind of both sides for it. So I'll put it. I'll go the Borucki method. I'll put it at number 1.
Kevin just looks like he's waiting to tell Sarah that he like poops his pants.
All right, Will, where were you going to put Deadpool and Wolverine?
Well, I got to figure out my personal list because I missed some of the podcast, so I wasn't like ranking, but like I don't, and y'all are going to be thinking I'm crazy here, but that's okay. I don't think it's better than the first Deadpool movie, in my personal opinion. I think the first Deadpool movie was better, and but it was still good. Like I think it goes Deadpool 1, Deadpool and Wolverine, and then Deadpool 2. Like that's how.
You're right. I do think you're fucking crazy.
I mean, well, good.
I would have to agree with Will on that. Like, I'm just one for like lore and storytelling. So I feel like that first one, like, there's so much hype behind it, how it came to be, just like it was never going to be a thing. And like, it is a good story seeing, and when Reynolds become what he is.
I also think it was funnier. Like me personally, I remember laughing harder in Deadpool 1 than I did in any of the other Deadpool movies. Not saying I didn't laugh.
I just want to take a minute to commiserate with you. Doesn't it feel dirty to agree with Sarah?
Oh, I'm a dirty person. What can I say?
Will said it's the pirate's life for me.
Yeah, but technically he is a pirate, so maybe I'm just
the only real pirate here, technically. Sarah cosplays.
Kevin, hit the pose. Get those arms down. Yeah.
All right. So where is that?
I got it wherever. Just past Deadpool, like the first Deadpool.
Okay, so you have it 2. Okay, so 2, 2, 1, 1. Cam and Sarah, where do you?
Where's X-Men Origins on this list?
We didn't watch it. It would be in last though.
Okay, so Deadpool and Wolverine is
last. The one that really like. What was that you guys made me watch? Fuck.
No, I'm kidding. I love Days of Future Past though. That's my problem. Is I love it because as an X-Men movie, it's so good to me. And Deadpool and Wolverine could have just been Deadpool and Wolverine, but they sprinkled in enough of the original villains of the X-Men and X-Men teases and jokes that it can be considered kind of like an X-Men movie to me, just a little bit. So I will put it at number 1 because I had more fun watching it.
All right, 3 number 1s, 2 number 2s. Sarah, where are you going to put this?
It doesn't fucking matter. I fucking lost anyway, it looks like. I will say, like I said, I do like Deadpool number 1 better. I think this one is a good movie for, like, anybody that, like, there is there is a complicit storyline, but like it's one movie you can just put on the TV and catch like any part, and you're like, oh, okay, hot, yeah, you know. Whereas the first one, like, it's kind of like a little more serious given the Deadpoolness. I would say I probably would put this one. I really liked First Class, so I would probably put it below that on my like list.
Yeah. So 2.
Yeah.
All right. So that's 3 1s, 3 2s. So I believe that's 9 divided by 6. I mean,
it's 1.5.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
It's 1.5.
So how are we deciding that? Are we rounding it up to 2 or rounding it down to 1? How are we? 1.5.
Dude, you make the list. I don't do math. I just tell you what I like, what gave me the ha-has.
Okay. Well, I think at this point, I mean, we have 3 people putting it number 1 as well. I mean, I feel like it should end up number 1.
No, but okay.
All right, we'll just.
What a shock! Jake gets his way.
Right.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because I've totally gotten my way so far.
Podcast.
All right.
Borucki has to sit on here listening to our foul mouths talk about movies that he has had shrines made out of for like 20 years, and somehow we changed the narrative into Borucki gets his way.
Yeah.
I think I've ruined half of Borucki's favorite franchises at least 35 times in the speck of time that I've known him.
Yeah.
And he's had to deal with me. He went, Josh has ruined most of these franchises for me.
Yeah.
He's like, I can't even rewatch half of these movies without thinking of the worst things that Josh has ever said.
Yep. You can listen to some of our old podcasts. Well, probably not, because I don't know that you want to go back and see how bad comparatively some of them were compared to.
We used to sit in our library for ATO, and we would all record it on we would sit in the same room and just talk about it. Well, what were we recording on, Jake?
We used to have a recording software on my old computer. We didn't even use like Google Meet originally. We just did it on my computer, and then I didn't even post it anywhere.
We just recorded it.
Yeah. What do you want, Kevin?
Okay. The pirate needs to set sail, so I'm going to walk her out. Sign off.
I thought you were staying at your place.
No, she has a hotel. She's not staying here. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. All right. Well, with that, I think we're going to close out this podcast because it's gone on long enough, but let's fucking go. And
let's fucking go.
So we are going to be back with a lot more plans next week. Now that this X-Men rewatch is done, we might have like several different teams doing other projects.
We have so many Twilight movies to do.
Oh God, no, please. Well, we'll figure it out with what all of our teams are doing, because it might be Cam, Sarah, Kevin and I doing something, Josh and Gabe and I doing another, Will and JJ and I doing something else. So we'll figure it out. So we'll see you all next time on the Tribe of Nerds.
You were just leaving.
Kevin.
Fuck you, Sarah.